Sounds good.
All right. Should be live. Let's make sure your YouTube wants to be nice and not show my IP address. Looking
Oh no.
solid. All right. Well, how's it going, everybody? And welcome to Shin Megami Tensei Network Link 264. I'm your host, Spencer Presley, and joining me on this, I'm sure to be momentous occasion, is Marsh. Now, Marsh, I won't even let you introduce yourself because I just want to thank you, not only for being here, but like you took off a national holiday to come on the
Of
podcast.
course.
Like I know you must have been busy. You've got your copy of Lego Star Wars: The Skywalker Saga right next. You're probably on episode
Exactly.
6 right now, and
Oh
you,
yeah.
you had to take a break. And I'm glad you could be here on Lego Star Wars Day.
No, it's no problem at all. Thank you for having me again. It's just like we were just saying. It's been too long. It's been a
It,
little too long since the last time.
think of how many like things have changed since February of 2021 to April of 2022. Like if I told you, "Hey Marsh, how about Soul Hackers 2?" What do
I
you think
would.
about that
Yeah.
last year? You'd be like, "What are you talking? What
The hell do you mean?
actually what are you talking about?"
Yeah, I never saw that coming in a million years.
So just in case anyone may not be aware of you, because as you're probably very aware, while you are known, you do have one of the least search-friendly names of all time.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. I've searched my own. Yeah, nothing comes. You get like musicians. You get anybody but me sometimes.
I had to really go out of my way to find a way to tag you on the YouTube title for this video. I was like, I've got to find a way to tag this. But it's like, do you want Marsh Stomp? Do you want Marshy Marsh and the Funky Bunch? Like, what do you want to do? And I was like, okay, I'm gonna learn. I'm gonna break into the Google server, the Alphabet headquarters, just to tag this
I'm glad
very
you found
simple
it.
name.
Yeah, the specific link and everything. No, that's cool.
But yeah, so who are you, real quick? And for anyone out there who, I would love it if the only knowledge someone had of you was from your podcast appearance on here. They're like, I enjoyed him last time, but I have no idea what he's been up
Yeah,
to.
a whole year ago. Yeah, I'm Marsh. I've been playing SMT since like 2013, and a couple of years ago I started doing stupid meme videos, which then evolved into a way for me to do longer discussion on games that I really like, games that I've always wanted to try out. And I'm basically just working my way through the entire franchise, trying to share it with as many people as possible.
I gotta ask you, because I was thinking about this. You and your channel have a very interesting trajectory of there's a finite end to what you could do with that one
There is
subject.
a finite end, yeah, definitely. I
So
have that in mind
is
too.
it like ever for you? Like, do you already know? Like, once you're done and you're caught up, you've done the Soul Hackers 2 experience in the year 2034 or whatever it is. Are you like, I should talk about this next?
I've thought about doing different stuff because I have a ton of imported. I went to Japan this first semester, so I have some games I bought there that I've never played that I thought would be cool to kind of talk about and get into. So that's an option. But I do have an end in sight for this. Like I want it to be kind of like a complete series that has a start and end point, and not something that just goes on indefinitely. So yeah, I have some future goals in mind if I make it that far. I think it's far off in the distance though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's an interesting one of like out of a lot of the different people who cover it. Obviously, with a podcast, it ends when I die. Like, so if I die,
Right, right,
if there's
right.
no show on a Tuesday, I either am late or the show's ended because I died or something. I'll just make up some bullshit like headline for us to talk about or whatever. Whereas like people who are like, oh, I do like let's look at Gnarly or whatever. You can run out of challenge runs just based on pure enjoyment. You don't want to be like, can I beat the game with the left analog stick only? Like there will be a
Yeah.
certain amount, like you could burn yourself out on that easily, and like that's why you'll talk about other things and whatnot for that. Whereas like if someone else might just talk about the like demonology and stuff like that, there's a lot more minute. Whereas like yours is a very finite. Hey, here's this game. Here's my experience in video form. Direct
Mhm.
it into your vein or stuff like that. Like, have you considered wanting to juggle? Or are you just not interested at all and just want to focus on one kind of thing at a time? Because it's kind of rare that you work on more than like two games at once. I feel like video wise.
I I haven't made the jump into other stuff yet because I know SMT works, and it was never my intention to get popular. I made it completely on a whim during quarantine, and it worked. And I was like, okay, people want to watch this. I want to play more of these games, and I want to talk about these games. And if people are going to listen, I'm going to keep doing it. So I just kind of have a one-track mind as far as the YouTube goes most of the time. As you know, I did start off with like stupid shit. I think that was sort of like my into YouTube, was like, this guy makes funny 20-second videos, and then I'll listen to him talk about another game for 2 hours. It kind of works like that.
Where's the Marsh stands who are like, dude, I really just miss your YouTube poops. Can we go back to the short stuff? Like, what's going on? Like, I don't need to be here for 24 minutes, dude.
There's people that want those. I've thought about doing it. I think at this point, it would confuse about 95% of my audience, but it might be worth it. I missed April Fool's Day. I was too busy.
I feel like a lot of people did. Like, I felt like this was the most subdued April Fool's out of like almost every year. Even like on version 3 of Quarantine April Fool's, it was very weird. Of like, even my thing was like, it was just an excuse for me to play Digimon. Like, I didn't even try that hard. But like, there were like people who were just like, yeah, there's like, I think it's a mixture of maybe lack of interest, but also there's so much fun stuff to talk, like actual interesting things to do and talk about, that it's like,
yeah,
I'd rather play XYZ or work on like this project than just like make some like goofy like elaborate thing. Like, I mean, a good example is like, look at Faz's April Fool's video this year compared to last year. Faz like just ripped out some assets from fucking Persona 5 this year, and then last year made like a kart racing like mini game trailer or whatever. Like it was like, yeah, it was like, okay, there's a decline in interest from everybody.
Yeah, I didn't do anything. I finished up my most recent video. I need a break. Like months ago, I was thinking of doing a funny like full length like hour-long video on something totally irrelevant to my channel, which would be funny, but I'd have to wait until next year to do it now. I think you can only work on that one day.
Can I guess the game?
You can try. I talked about it on Twitter before.
I'm assuming it would be one of the cell phone or the weird Java games?
Totally not SMT at all.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, then that's horrendously too wide of a game for me to guess.
I mentioned it on Twitter once. I want to do Glover, a whole Glover video. If you know what Glover's
contentious, dude. Glover's very contentious right now. That remake, yeah.
Yeah.
If you told me Glover and NFT would be a controversy this year, I would have said, what are both of those things? But then be kidding, because of course I know what Glover is. I'm not a man who knows what Gex is and didn't play Glover. It was like, I drew my line in the platformer sands of the 90s.
Yeah, I grew up with Glover somehow, because I wasn't alive in the 90s. We just had fucking Glover. So.
that's borderline child protective service claims worthy.
Yeah,
of like, what kind of household are you raising your children in? Glover only.
We got Glover. We had Quest 64 too, so I had all this shit.
I would need you to, if you did an April Fool's thing, I would almost want it to be like really committed but really lazy at the same time. Like, I want you to do a full playthrough of Glover on April Fool's Day next year in full Glover cosplay.
Just a giant glove, yeah, honestly.
Yeah, you're a giant glove with like nub hands, also with gloves at the end of those fingers, trying to play the N64 version only.
I'd be totally down to do that. I hope I have time for it next year. I really want to do like a weird-ass video like that, just totally out of the blue.
I want you to know, you, out of a lot of people I know online, you straddle the line very interestingly of you might be busy or you have too much free time on your hand. Because like, there are people online, especially in our friend group, who are like, they say they're busy, but we know they're not. It's like, there's your version of busy, but it's like, hey, dog. Like, if you got the time to write up a 3,000-word twit longer, you might not be that busy in your life.
No, I feel you. Yeah, it depends for me. Sometimes I got nothing to do, then sometimes school ramp up, or I'll be in the middle of a project or something. But for me, it's just kind of like, it depends on what day you ask me. So if you ask me every day, eventually it'll work.
Well, what's really funny is, like, I think for anyone out there who misses your old types of videos, I don't know what bug got into you the last, like, 12 months or whatever, but basically that's just you on Twitter.
I kind of moved it to Twitter because I think it works a little better, because it's, like, less sort of permanent, I think, or it's, like...
the site that you can never actually delete anything unless you have a paid membership.
It's like YouTube, you see, like, all your videos, and it's like, oh, this guy's got a nice series going, but what's all of this shit? Whereas on Twitter, it's like, okay, he's got, like, a million tweets of whatever. It's just an easier format, I think, to sell jokes on.
I would love to know. Oh, okay, no, actually, talking about your Twitter, because I had this pop up recently. We need to like have a rule when people see something in trending, they need to like have a before they tweet about it. There should be a reason. Like Twitter can tell you really quick if you type in why is blah 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 trending. They should just tell you why. Because I
I would
feel
like
like
that, yeah.
9 out of 10 times it's people talking about it, or it's trending for your really specific niche ass timeline. Because I remember like 3 or 4 days after your DDS video, someone was like, "Bro, Marsh got it trending." I'm like, "No, I guarantee." I looked at the timeline. It's very much there's no sense of any of that is trending. I promise you.
I've never even seen TDS trending. I saw like SMT5 trending, which makes sense, but
Yeah,
I've never seen
for
anything
sure.
more niche than that. Yeah.
For sure, but it is just one of those funny things of like half of the time it's someone who thinks it is, or like the worst are like, oh my god, why is Jerry Seinfeld trending? And it's just people
Yeah.
asking why is Jerry Seinfeld trending, and that makes it start trending more and more. So it's like, okay, well, let's reel it back, everybody. But I guess now that your video's out, you're now never gonna read a real book again, or
Oh
at least
yeah.
not for a very long time. I looked at the comments. I was a little. There was one thing I was disappointed no one called you out for.
Okay. Here we
If
go.
you decided to be a big nerd and read all of these books, not even in your native language, why are you not immediately then going to do the Quantum Avatar Saga books immediately after? Do you just hate good
I want
literature?
to. I want to. It's just it's not related to the same story. I'd probably do it with like a Digital Devil story or saga. Sorry, shit. There's so many of those. I do it with the games. I do it with the games.
Well, that's the weird one of like they're like tied to it, but they're also like it's weird. It's like yes, they're related. The authors have things in common. You can enjoy them more together, but they're also very much also enjoyable like separately. And then you get into the whole really depressing factor of we're probably never even going to finish the series. It's going to get stuck in SMT con
Yeah.
hell of only 2 volumes.
Yeah. I do want to read those. I think someone mentioned it. I gotta find the English one first, and then I gotta see if there's like even a way, like if there's fan sites out there that explain the others, or if there's like scans out there somewhere.
I mean,
I just,
I mean, like they're pretty like digestible to read at least. Like they do use some like larger terminology. I was just mostly really excited of like, so I had read them before because it was just one of those things that I expected just to never get it. So I read it in high school when I was learning Japanese originally. But one of the funny things about reading them and then going back to the English version was I loved how localized they were. They were localized extremely well, and it was a lot better than just I was reading it through a translator, basically like trying to read all 5 of those. Whereas then like
right.
getting the localized one, it was a much better overall quality product.
Yeah, I'd love to see the same thing for these new Digital Devil storybooks that I talked about. I mean, now that the author is active on Twitter, I there's no chance, but I'm gonna ask at some point, like, can you reprint these at least just so that I can buy one, like more sets of these and sort of like take them apart, scan them, and just get that shit out there?
It's a weird one because I always feel like people don't talk about the book side of Atlus things as much. Unfortunately, like I feel like when you hear someone, even with something as mainstream as Persona 5, it's like, guys, I heard you love Persona 5, and they're like, hell yeah, we do. Now read about
Yeah.
it, and they're like, whew, no thanks. Like it's just something about books, even if it's not a novel like a manga. I feel like it's such an uphill battle for a lot of people. Like another really great story a lot of fans haven't really read. I don't know if you've ever read the Detective Naoto story. That is a fantastic story that I cannot believe has never been localized.
Haven't read it. I'm aware of it. It's just something I need to check out at some point. It's good though. That's good to know.
Yeah, so
Wasn't
like
sure.
there's a lot of stuff out there, but I think you have to like first look at the step of like if it took us this long to get Persona 5 as a manga in the West, and that's like, hey, this is our biggest thing in manga form when there are this many publishers, it's just they've just got to be so selective, you imagine. And even though
Yeah.
like there are so many different outlets, it's just like I like to imagine there's always a hope for something. Because I remember when I talked to Matt from Udon, we were talking about like, hey, what about these like really old things? Like an example I think that directly came up was where like, is it hypothetically possible to get the rights to the SMT if like manga and get that
It'd be
released in English?
sick.
And it's
Yeah.
like, yeah,
Yeah.
100%. It's just people have to just keep asking for it.
I'll keep asking for it. I don't know if I'm enough for that though. I'm willing.
We just have to wait till everyone gets creatively bankrupt enough that they just have to start releasing the really weird niche stuff.
Oh, I hope that happens.
Actually,
I'm waiting for those.
do you know the story of why we got Quantum Devil Saga?
I don't. I don't know anything about it.
So the only reason those first two books got localized in English at all was because the Japanese publisher of that basically included them like a garage sale when you're like, hey dude, I want to buy it. They basically the publisher Bento Books pulled a Gary V with a tub of hot tubs with a tub of Hot Wheels, and they were like, hey, we want to get this series, and it wasn't QDS. It was like some other series this publisher had, and they were like, we will, but only if you buy all of these other series for their localization rights and publish them. So it was included, like, it wasn't even something they were trying to get. They were just, like, basically offered it, and that was the only way they could get this other book published. And I just thought it was so funny of just, like, very little fanfare from the publisher to make it happen, but then once it was out, it was just this big thing of, like, holy crap, holy crap, holy... Because I remember asking for a review copy of the book to cover it and, like, set up interviews, and they were like, we're really surprised people care about this as much. Like, we didn't think people would care that hard.
Yeah, I mean, is that the same story with... Because Con, has like a French translation or something, right?
So I don't know about Con's publisher, but yeah, so I do know the Tokyo Pop story. I should, like, try and, like, track that down more, because Tokyo Pop had such a messy history of... So Con basically only got canned because... Okay, Con got picked up because Tokyo Pop was literally just trying to be the world's, like, sluttiest manga publisher. We were like, we will bang anyone. Like, will you give us your AAA or dog trash series, we will publish anything. And Con just came up through one of those things of just, like, they know it's based off a game, Japan was hot, manga was hot, let's release anything. Like, SMT at the time meant literally nothing. Because I think at the time when Con came out, we might have had 2 games in the West with Con. I mean, with SMT even related. And even the if connection literally meant nothing to the West at all at the time. So it's one of those things of that sales didn't really equate to it not happening. That was more of a problem of Tokyo Pop blew up so fast that they started a bajillion series that never even ended. I remember the bigger one for me at the time was they were the original publisher in the West of Kingdom Hearts' manga. And they couldn't even finish that. And that was a series that sold really, really well. So it wasn't like, oh, Con's really niche, so we won't finish it in the West. It was just more of the publisher died and no one cared enough to pick up the rights again.
I see. I mean, there's just so many of those books out there. I hope like you said, eventually they just start grasping at straws. Give us something.
What's the weird one? What's like one that no one talks about that you're like, dude, this needs to get like brought out in English, please? Like for me, it's the Ultimax manga. I feel like the only one who ever advocates for that much, but it's such a better story than the base game that like it's such a crime it's not out.
Yeah, I mean, somebody in the chat said it. There's a book that's like SMT, like Jerusalem or El Salam or something. That's another one. I think it might be by the same guy as Digital Devil's Story. I could check, but that's another one I'm interested in.
Yeah.
SMT Jerusalem. I don't even know anything it's about. Sounds cool.
You're gonna find out it's like a Pokemon fan mod.
It could be. It is by Aya Nishitani, it looks like. So I would like to read it just because we already know what he's written, so it's got to be good.
Yeah, and I'm honestly one of those people. Like, I really like his style as well in terms of like I like how he nails that tone, because I think with a lot of, I'm kind of picky. Like, I love reading, but I think I'm a lot pickier with novels, and especially when there's that language barrier there. When like it's a lot more of a commitment for me to try and read something that's only in Japanese. There are very few I've stuck through. Outside of, I think, like, I maybe have done double digits if I'm, like, being really generous.
Yeah, reading in Japanese is just, like, it's totally different. It's not, like, it's reading it for enjoyment, but it's also, like, very investigative. You're like, what the hell is this? Like, what's even happening? Am I reading it right? There's so many more questions floating through your head than just, like, casually flipping through a book.
I'm one of those weirdos, by the way, of, like, I legitimately think I'm not terrible with Japanese. I'm just really bad at writing it. I can read it. I can say it, but writing it and spelling it, I absolutely slam to a halt. I'm just very bad at it.
Writing's hard. I can't write like kanji, but I can do like all the kana perfectly fine. I mostly type. You type when you're in Japan. That's what my experience was. So I haven't decided to like learn how to write it just because I feel like it could be better spent learning grammar or something else.
No, for sure. Well, I did not expect us to have our intro just be 20 minutes about books, but I appreciate everyone in chat for staying more on topic. I do want to give a quick shout out to 2 super chats. Demicro, thank you for the first one. Said, do I buy a laptop or Lego Star Wars?
Ooh. I mean, that's a big difference in price.
I'm gonna be honest.
I'd say buy the Lego Star Wars.
Yeah, I'd go Lego Star. I mean, I'm gonna be real. I think you'd get more enjoyment out of that than a laptop.
For sure. Oh, definitely.
And the Lord Mania Game says, don't forget the prayers and demonic gene books that are available online through fan scans and are actually pretty good translations. Yeah, that is the nice thing. I feel like there's a lot of good like fan translation stuffs out there. It's just it gets a lot grimier in terms of which ones to go with, which ones actually get finished, how's the quality. And then for novels, it's such a crapshoot of, is there any, what's the quality, like what's the like how much of this is a translation and how much of this is just you spitting it out from Google Translate, you know?
Yeah, definitely. I've taken a look at those too. Haven't like fully read them, but they look pretty cool. So
kind of getting away from books though. What have you been playing recently?
Ooh, what have I been playing? You know what? I started another playthrough of Fear, which is kind of funny.
Okay, hold on. Is something fucking going on with you and Yarly? He was over at my house last week and he was like, dude, you know what I picked up? Been playing Fear. I was like,
really? I didn't know about that actually.
Fear 1 in the year 2022. You're playing Fear 1.
That's so good. I've played it like 5 times. I'll just do another playthrough.
It's like, dude, what's your favorite trilogy? The Fthreer trilogy. Like I love Fear. Fear is a very cool series, but like it's not anything I would ever expect someone to come up to me and say, "Yo, bro, playing some Fear tonight." I'm like, what?
That's the same kind of thing. It's not something you can just kind of sit down and be like, oh yeah, Call of Duty, oh yeah, like Fortnite. Like you can't just be like, oh yeah, you've been playing Fear. You probably won't know what you're talking about.
So you two have not talked about this at all. This wasn't a pre-planned thing. I'm not getting punked or anything.
No, I know Gnarly likes it, but I don't think that's the reason we're both playing it at the same time.
The Fear experiment, this Fear experience.
Yeah, I'd love to do that, but I think it's been done better already.
What are you playing, the PC version or console?
It's on PC, but I have it on console too. But right now I'm playing the PC version.
Fear, man, just shout out to Fear of like that was one of those games because remember that was like on PC only for a while.
Yeah.
Of like, as somebody who only played on consoles, I was very jealous of Fear for a very long time. Also, shout out to the developer because I feel like most people don't remember that Monolith made that, and Monolith does some really really good shit.
Got Monolith. If you like Fear, you can play Condemned, which is a little different but similar.
Yo, Condemned. Shout out. Like, I bet you right now, no one at Sega knows that that's a Sega game.
Yeah, that's right. You know what? Even I forgot about that. It is a Sega game.
Also,
I would love to see another one of those.
One of the most jealous-inducing games. I was so sad that never left 360 as like a PS3 guy for so long. But like, thankfully, I know 2 is. I'm pretty sure the first one's backwards compatible. But yeah, Fear 1 and Fear. Oh my god, Condemned 1 and Condemned 2. That's a mindfuck of a game.
They're very cool. Yeah, I got that one on Steam too.
Man, I appreciate everyone in chat not asking Fear ? Also, Shark Week in chat it says, who else is playing Half-Life 1 in 2022? That's less weird. Like, someone would be like, yo, dude, who's playing critically acclaimed Valve games? It's like, yeah, kind of everybody. Like, the only Valve game people question at this point is Artifact, because I had to explain to someone what Artifact was, and then I went, wow, that's how you really know that game fucked up.
I know what it is, and I never played it, though. That's a weird one.
But yeah, so besides critically acclaimed shooter from 2005, Fear, what else are you playing?
I was doing that. You know what? I was playing, Elden Ring. I haven't gotten far into Elden Ring just because I like to sit down and play for hours at a time, and I haven't had time to, but I've been playing a little bit of that. I really love it. and like Last Bible, just every now and then. Get through some of that. And so it's a weird combo.
That's a really weird combo meal for sure. Although, like, funnily enough, I was more surprised. Now I don't know. You maybe have fallen off. Have you touched any of the new season for Fortnite?
I haven't touched the latest one. The last one I played was it was like the big update where they put like the big ass like Dwayne Johnson statue in the game like that. I played that one. I haven't played the recent one.
I will say it almost sounds like kind of like an overstatement. Removing building really makes that feel like a completely different game.
Oh, I imagine, yeah. I like the building. I know some people are totally like cracked with it and can do like a tower in 2 seconds, but I think it's pretty fun.
That's the thing. I also like the building, but when you remove it, it makes everything a lot more interesting. Because like now it's all about movement. Of like they added like mantling, sliding, parkouring, and the stamina meter, and so like I like that it's not that the creativity of building is gone. It's more of like, okay, now what do you do to get out of a firefight and stuff like that, and that's been kind of fun. I checked it out a little bit, but like there's just so many games out right now. Like much like with Elden Ring, it's like I have Elden Ring, but I literally got I think I got Ultimax, the review code, like a day or two after Elden Ring, and it was like, I hate that I'm gonna play 40 hours of this and not Elden Ring.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I did play a lot of Ultimax. I haven't played it in a few days, but I was on that too a little bit past few weeks.
So, Ultimax came out. I've gotten this question a couple of times, and I'm curious how you feel about this, because you're probably, you have your finger less on the hardcore, like, Ultimax community than I do. How do you feel? Like, someone comes up to you, Joe Blow, is like, hey, how was that Ultimax port? Like, what do you tell them? Because I'm very biased.
I mean, for me, the experience hasn't been great, because, like, I've been getting crashes where it would just go straight to the desktop recently.
Did you get that error code message that popped up a lot during, I saw that a lot during the launch week.
I think it's an error code message. Sometimes it's just straight to desktop. The multiplayer for me was broken. It just wouldn't work. I think they fixed that. So the port was a little iffy at the start, but I mean, I appreciate that all the DLCs in it, like the music, the skins and all that. That's cool.
Why do you gotta say that to me? What, you're gonna make me turn into the fucking Simpsons comic book guy? I'm gonna have to actually you. Because every time
what is it?
Well, because there is DLC missing. There is music missing. It's missing. They had to remove music from the Persona 3 movie and the Golden Anime. Stuff that but stuff that no one actually cares. Like, no one's gonna write a review and then say, guys, they've got all the DLC except blah 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 blah, because most people don't care.
Yeah.
It's for the weirdos like me who like next chance to move on.
I do remember that being in the original one, I think, now that you mention it. So it's like a mixed bag as a port. It works pretty much fine now, but like before they fixed that multiplayer thing, it was a little rough, I think, just because that's a big part of the game.
Were you someone who cared at all about, because I know you played Arena back in the day, were you PS3 or 360?
No, I had it on 360. It's kind of funny.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay. So you're like, what's lobby mode? I don't even care. Like, so
I don't even know about it. Yeah.
See, you're living a good life then, because then you've never experienced it, so you're like, it's okay. It's just the same. I haven't lost
anything. Yeah, it's the exact same thing, pretty much.
Was there like any because like for me, it's like, I think because they priced it so perfectly, I think $30 when it's working and not crashing to desktop for you, like, it's a very good package. It's got 2 game story mode. It's a solid like, it's a really big roster of characters. Like, it's hard to really complain about from a price point standard, where it's always then, I think I straddle that line of like, I don't want to sound like I'm nitpicking it, because then it's like, it's always coming out that thing of, it's a really good port, but then the stuff you have to complain about is going to sound really minute by comparison.
Yeah, I have I got like 18 hours on it. It's just as fun as I remember it being. I don't have too many specific complaints that they haven't fixed. I think there were some people having like, oh, I don't even remember, like some kind of issue where the controls kept swapping between controller and keyboard. I did have that, but it didn't really bother me that much. Maybe that's just me being a little too forgiving, but yeah, I love Ultimax. I love Arena. It's one of my favorite fighting games. I'm not a fighting game guy, but I really like Ultimax a lot.
It is funny, though, because after messing around with all the versions, because I played primarily on the PlayStation version with everything, that version has, like, literally no technical flaws. Like, the worst thing I ever had after, like, 40 plus hours of playing was, like, once I had a friend crash. And it wasn't
Yeah.
even me. It was just someone else I was playing online with. Like the netcode was marketably better than it used to be. Although, for whatever reason, I found the quality of netcode is better on consoles, even under the same connection quality than on PC. I don't know what that's about. But, I mean, considering it's still not rollback, and it's very much more playable than it used to be, like,
Yeah.
like that was pretty much all it really needed to be. So then my other question I want to ask you is, do you feel like there's any hype? Because I feel like a week after it came out, I've heard no one talking about it outside of that
Yeah.
community.
Yeah, it's nobody's really talking about it anymore. That might just be the way it is. I don't think the original sold that well to begin with.
Very bad.
So yeah, so it just might be the way it is. Just like a little, here's a port for you guys. Maybe too many people don't care about it. I think it'd be like the same thing if they did the port of the dancing games or something like that. Be like, oh, that's kind of cool. Why don't you port Persona 5
you're aware of how
instead?
how disgusting people are going to be with those models once there's actual
Oh
PC
God.
model. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I think of? Like, when I see those accounts on Twitter who, like, mess around with, like, the dancing models and, like, put them in weird poses and stuff, I've actually asked people, like, who work at Atlus, like, what do you guys think when you see those, like, Twitter posts? And they're like, legitimately, they're like, I find it gross. Like, they're like, oh, it's cute, or like, oh, I love seeing Fuka naked in bed with a nameless character. Like, no, they're like, yeah, it's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's a little strange.
But it's just one of those things of it would get so much worse of just like, all right, here's 3 games whole cast on PC. Like, the amount of people who would just buy it just to like rip the models and songs would be kind of funny. Whereas at least like, I'm one of those weirdos who's like, I'm ready any day now. Give me there's no reason to put those games on next gen, but I would love to see that trilogy on next gen for no reason. Give me 120 frames, 8K dancing game.
You know what? If it was like cheap enough or something, I'd probably buy it just because like I think there's a lot of novelty in just having Mega 10 games on Steam. I think it's funny. I think it's kind of weird. So I would probably buy it. Like, I don't give a shit.
It's also one of those weird ones of like, I have legitimately played Dancing All Night, I think, over 12 times. It's just one of those games of like, I would, like, if I'm at a friend's house and they have that game, I've done this at least like more than 3 times. I'd be like, hey, have you platinum Dancing All Night? You're like, no, I don't want to platinum Dancing All Night. I'm like, cool, I got 90 minutes. I'm going to bust out this platinum trophy for you. Like, so I'm just a sick individual.
I don't know. But back on like the hype thing, I think like on Steam, Ultimax has like 1,500 reviews, which I think is not too bad. And then like another game that came out was like Monarch has like 70 reviews on Steam. So
Yo, dude,
there's a big difference. There's a big difference.
Okay, I know I'm very biased because I don't like playing my games on PC.
Yeah.
I don't think people are aware of this also. There's still an enormous stigma because when Japanese companies put their RPGs on PC, normally those ports are pretty bad. Like, there's no one's going into those ports being like, guys, they've nailed it. Like, we believe in them. Like, there's a reason a lot of games take like 12 to 16 months to come out on PC. Not because they don't want to, because it's like, we're not structurally capable of this. Like we're not ready to do this. Like, there wasn't like some secret port of Nocturne on PC ready for a Japanese only release. They were like, nah, dude, that thing was coming in hot.
Right, yeah. I don't know. It's a big difference. It's 1,500. That means 1,500 people bothered to review it. That's like, that means, you know, probably at least like, what, 10,000 people bought it or something? I don't know. What do you expect?
I feel like something in Monarch, that just seems more like, I feel like for those budgeter RPGs, it's like, you're gonna buy Monarch when it's on a Steam summer sale. You're not gonna buy Monarch for $60. Someone on PS4 or 5 or Switch, they might buy Monarch. Like, because even put it in perspective, like, they don't even put the demos on there. Because like they just know, like, hey, it's nice to have that port, but they know, like, they're not selling the most amount of copies on that one platform.
I think I had the wrong idea about Monarch. Like, I thought it was supposed to be like this super hyped up game that like nobody talks about. I don't know why I thought that.
It's because you're around me. I legitimately, unironically, I think I've titled at least 3 videos of like, until last month, I legitimately was like, this is my most anticipated JRPG of the year. Now, there wasn't a lot of competition, but
Right.
I was very, very excited for it. I actually forgot, yeah, because you got a code for Monarch, right?
Yeah, and I played some of it, and I think I will review it, just like a sort of in the same vein as my SMT5 review, just like a shorter thing. But I haven't finished it. I've been super busy, but I'm going to eventually finish it. But
How
yeah, nobody talks about it.
how far are you into it? Like
Like
how
the
many bosses have you done?
first couple of acts, like 2 or 3 or something. Yeah.
Like there's a whole like podcast I can have just talking about the game because that game I think is so interesting. Of if you go into it expecting an SMT gameplay, yes, I can understand you'd be disappointed. I think thematically it does a lot of really interesting things. I think musically, story wise, tone, it's very SMT in that aspect. But I actually really liked that the gameplay was a lot more different, much more like a strategy RPG.
Yeah.
But I think much like kind of going back to Ultimax, Monarch is a case of a game that probably more people would talk about and play, but I think both came out at terrible times. Literally, Monarch came out the week of Elden Ring, and Ultimax came out in between, like, still people talking about Elden Ring, Borderlands, Kirby, Stranger of Paradise, uh, the triangle strategy. Like there was a bajillion games coming out in between these, so all of these really niche like RPGs. It's just one of those things of I think no one's talking about it, not because people didn't like it, just because
Right.
people are like, well, I'd rather play the new hotness than play
No,
this right away.
yeah,
Whereas I
that
think
makes sense.
Monarch and Ultimax are in that camp of they'll be just as good when you recommend them on sale as they were going to be at full price.
Yeah, maybe at some point later on it'll catch on. I mean, maybe all it takes is more people making videos about it. Maybe people don't even know it exists. So we'll see. I was just surprised about that to see that it only had like 70 reviews or something. I was like, that's barely anything.
I was I was very taken aback that I think I was one of the more positive people who played it though, because I think it's definitely one of those games that you play it and you're either like, this is for me, I know what this is, and then there are people who probably went in thinking this was going to be a much higher quality or a bigger game, whereas like I've played this publisher's games before. I've played Landcar's games. Like they're a budget RPG company, but like
Yeah.
if you're not aware of that, I can understand some people maybe being more taken aback. Because I think at worst, it's like a 6. And like for
Mhm.
me, it's a really high 7. Like it's a sloppy game and it does have problems, but what it does do right, I love it for it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a little too or like early on in it, maybe to give it a full review. I'd probably say like 6, 7 too. Like this is where I am right now. Same kind of thing. So I think it should have some more attention, honestly.
You know what though? Talking about scores, because I've actually not had a chance to talk to you about this. You
Oh
did your
yeah.
first review. You put on your IGN pants. You said, I'm going to review
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
What was that process like for you? Because like I've been covering games for almost like 10 years now at this point, from like previews, reviews, or whatever. Like so for you, this was like your first actual review video. Like what was that like? Did you enjoy it? Did you feel more constricted by it? Did you feel less constricted since it was kind of out of your formula? Like what was that whole process like for you?
Yeah, this is yeah, I guess just in case somebody in the chat doesn't know, this is the SMT5 review that I did. I felt more constrained easily. It wasn't as fun to me because I think a lot of the fun I have in my videos is sort of like I don't know how to explain it exactly. It's sort of like more, I guess a review is sort of like more, I feel like it should follow a structure and maybe pay some respect to the fact that the company gave me the game for free. So I sort of feel the need to make like less off-topic jokes or references and stuff like that. So I kind of made it like much more refined and it's 30 minutes
How many
instead of like
Family Guy
2
references could
hours.
you put in a SMT5 video? That's what I need to
I,
know now.
I couldn't do any unless it wasn't sponsored. So I felt like I had to pay a little bit more respect to what I was saying, whereas in other videos I kind of just like, this part of the game sucks ass. I never want to do it again. I didn't say anything like that in the game or in the SMT5 review. I tried to be as measured as possible, which I think part of the appeal, at least when I write my own stuff, is just not really just kind of like saying whatever. So, but it was fun. It was cool to get the game for free and have Atlus acknowledge that I exist. That was cool. I never saw that happening ever when I was a kid getting into this stuff. But Yeah, it was fun. It gave me a chance to maybe be a little more analytical than I normally am. I think in my experience videos, I focus on like how it feels to play a game or what I think you can get out of playing the game or why this potentially bad game has some good sides. Whereas in this video, I was sort of like, just like a more bog standard kind of like, here's how the sound is, here's how the animations are and stuff like that. Yeah. It was less, I guess, like subjective, if that makes sense, even though reviews are subjective. I sort of honed it in even further.
How did you feel the takeaway was from your video? Like when you posted it, was it like, oh, did people were like, oh, I agree with you, or oh, I like this, I want to see more of this? Like, what was the kind of reception you saw from like your comment section?
So this video was this is not a brag. This is my least well-received video.
Why would that be a brag?
Well,
Yo, I don't mean to brag. This is my least successful video.
The part that I don't want to come across as a brag is that it's like a 98% like to dislike ratio, whereas normally it's like 99. So it's like 60 dislikes, which is more than most of my other ones. So it also did shit in terms of views. Terrible. The DDS book video surpassed it in like 2 days.
Are you someone like when you post a video, are you like what's your threshold for like if it reaches this number of views, you're happy?
It used to be like 5, but that was before people started watching them. Now I think my new standard is sort of like if it doesn't reach 50,000 maybe within the first week, it's kind of like it's more of not a popular video, I think.
So is your takeaway then when you say that, is it like, oh, that sucks because I'm less financially motivated to make videos like this? Or is it like, I should just go back to what... Is it more of a thing of like, oh, I want to have more views because it's going to create a larger discussion about it? Or is it like, oh, it's nice because then if I get a larger video, then I can get more resources into putting into like the next one? Like where does it go for that?
For me, I think it's just gauging like what people want to talk about or what people are interested in me talking about. Clearly, it's not games that just came out, so I don't have a financial motive because I don't have ads on my videos, so I don't have a Patreon or anything.
You have no Google AdSense for all of your videos?
No, I haven't made a single dollar off of any of it. I can't because I get scholarships for school, and if I have an income, I am at risk of losing those.
Sir,
so I have scholarships based on no income.
Keep saying that, but don't do. Who's going to make that connect? Do you think someone out there literally thinks your name is Marshall? Who's going to put those?
Right?
Who's going to find those connections and gonna be like, Catch Me If You Can to the Marsh saga? He's been collecting $6,000 a month in ads.
I don't know. You got to report those earnings, and on some of those videos, the SMT1 videos got nearly 500,000. I would make a decent bit. I'd have to report it.
What if you just see now and then? I'm like thinking, what if you just like signed up for Google AdSense, but you never cashed it until you finished college?
No, Faz actually told me about that, and that's a good idea. And I should probably do that, but I just haven't, because I sort of like the appeal of just no ads. I think that's kind of funny. But at some point, I'll cave. I will cash out.
that is interesting, because yeah, I have a lot of people I know. Like I have like one friend specifically. Is like literally like he checks his YouTube like comments like their notifications on Discord.
Yeah, reading all of them. I try to do that. I try to read as many as I can.
Not even in a like, oh, I'm reading them because I want to hear people say anything. It's like, oh, it's not getting this many good views. It's gotta get more views. Like I like set my thing as like as low as possible. Like, listen, as long as like 1,000 people saw a video, I'm like, cool, whatever. Like I just set it very low because my whole thing with it is like I like the conversation that can come up from me posting it, because really at the end of the day, like I've had videos that. Now that I've had a video that's done like over 100,000, the comments really just eventually boil down to cool, nah, yeah. I disagree. Whereas like I have videos like my 13 Sentinels video I did about why it sold so poorly. I swear to God, like that, and ironically my Tokyo Mirage Sessions video going into why I think that game is severely underappreciated. I get comments almost daily about it. Like it might just be one or two, but someone will find that in their random ass algorithm and like want to defend it, talk about it or something, and it'll be like, I love stuff like that. So like even if a video like does like I'm sure bad in the long run. I'm more of a thing of I like having it out there because once it's out there, then anyone can watch it whenever. It's like I don't look at its like first 24 hours or a week views and then think, oh fuck.
Yeah, I don't care about numbers very much because again, there's no financial thing for it, so it's just for fun. And I just think for me, it's sort of like an objective measure of what people want to hear me talk about. The SMT5 review doesn't have even as many views as I do have subscribers. So like it's just to me it's that simple. Nobody probably is maybe the timing was bad and it was like, oh, I haven't even played the game yet. I don't want to see a review of it.
I
Or
think
it's
I think it
something
was
else.
a timing thing because I was actually really self-conscious about when mine went up because mine actually didn't go up purposefully with the embargo because of the way I think how stupid the embargoes have been. Because you did yours what, December or January?
My video was January 7th.
I
Yeah.
would say yours suffered from it was too far. So it wasn't like, oh,
Too
not enough
late.
people had played
Yeah.
it. I would say yours was too far. Whereas like this was a funny thing. By the way,
Yeah.
Kyrian in the chat, thank you. I don't know if you were talking about me or Marsh, but thank you just for the. If both of our best videos was the one about SMT5, I appreciate that comment. Um,
It's definitely not for me. No way.
well, like I liked your video. I do have one complaint I wanna actually throw at you that I'm curious if anyone else has brought up to you. But my thing about it was there were two embargoes basically before the game came out. There was the review embargo a week before release, which all the press got to do. And then everyone out there who was in the media and streaming camp, who people like us are, because we're not affiliated with a website, we just do it for ourselves. We're thrown into the streamer camp, even if we don't stream the game.
Yeah.
And that review was literally launch day in Japan.
Right.
So really, why the fuck would you read my review when you could be playing the game? Or why would you want to watch a review so I held off and I was like, let's just make this as much of a like complete experience as possible. So I ended up, as opposed to reviewing it from beating it, I reviewed it from the perspective of I've done everything in this game. I've done all the DLC, I've done all the endings, and blah 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 blah. And I waited until like maybe right before Thanksgiving or something like that. So it was like in that post 2 weeks period, and it was really funny to then see because I'm still a very small channel in terms of views, subscribers, and everything. How many more views I got from my video compared to other people because they all wanted to release theirs on embargo. And then again,
Yeah.
this has nothing to do with quality, but if you're releasing the same kind of video, like I don't remember, like if you saw the day that embargo dropped, everyone's video was dropping at midnight on the 11th of November. If you're seeing 7 videos in a row of SMT5 reviews, why would you like outside of I want to support my friends? Most people aren't going to think I better watch each and every one of these.
Yeah, that's true. You're not gonna watch all of them.
So it was one of those things if you kind of had to pick and choose your battle. Whereas I think your review was very very good, but was then coming from a thing of the discussion had definitely winded down by January. Now obviously people are still playing the game and picking it up all the time, and that's not a you thing of like that's just one of those things where it might just then pick up over time. But then because there are so many videos on SMT5, there's a harder chance of that happening. Whereas like going back to my weird ones that get picked up still, who the fuck's talking about 13 Sentinels? Who the fuck's talking about Tokyo Mirage Sessions? There's not a lot of competition in that camp, so like that's like when it comes to a review, you kind of have to pick and choose your battles of am I going for really long on embargo or really short to get it out on time and in a digestible way that people are going to see. Because like I think an interesting problem I faced was I was really proud of how my Ultimax review came out. That thing's fucking almost 45 minutes long. No one's video is that long for the port of Ultimax. But I was someone who was like, I'm extremely motivated by that because that's a game that means a lot to me. I fucking dove deep into that port. I ripped it to shreds. I played Operation with it. Like, if I go to the trouble of timestamping a video before it comes out, that's how you know I put effort into it. Because I don't fucking do timestamps.
Yeah, the timestamps. That's how you know it's like a serious production for sure.
So. But what I thought was interesting for that was it I think maybe has now cracked like 1,000 views or whatever. And so it's like, okay, and the reception of it was very, very good, but the view rate was very low. And when I talked to some people about it, it was like, it is kind of an intimidating amount of length for that, and it didn't go up. I purposefully like didn't have it go up around other people, but it went up before most people saw it embargo wise. But that was a situation of it's fucking Ultimax in the middle of March. No one was fucking like no one was slamming the internet with Ultimax reviews. Like there was ample space for me to put it up whenever. But it was one of those things that I think that's a situation of that's an intimidating length for someone even if they are mildly interested in it. So it's kind of about writing that balance of how much effort do you put into it as opposed to when people are going to want to see it or watch it and stuff like that. Like for you, one of the interesting things, I really liked your review, especially coming from someone who hasn't done a lot of reviews personally with you. My one issue is this, and I don't know if anyone else has ever brought this up. Were you, like, compelled to put a score at it? Because I thought one of the weirdest things on your review was your tone did not match your score. And then at the end I went, why did you score it at all? I thought it was like, so interesting. Of like, I thought your review was so interesting, but then it was like, you landed on a 6, right?
It was a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, it was like, your tone was not a 6. So, like, the whole video, it was like if we had a date, and it was like, this date was great. I've had the pasta, the breadsticks, we had a fantastic time. I'm not doing this again, though. That was a 6. It's like, what? What happened?
I feel like most of my video was, like, I feel like a lot of it was complaints, most of it. So I put this, I felt compelled to put a score in there because when I think
you sounded too happy. That was the pwn. You needed to be angry video game nerd reviewing the game. That was why. Maybe
it's. Yeah, I didn't really watch too many other reviews at the time, and I wasn't sure if people are putting scores in. I usually, in my experience videos, I'll be like, oh, this game's like a C tier or B tier. So I was like, I'll put a number score, and I thought 6 was good because it's like, I have a lot of problems with the game, but to me 5 is average, so 6 is like, yeah, it's above average.
Okay, so average. That was my immediate thing of I never even took it personally because the only reason I thought it was jarring was because there was no other comparison. Like I don't know the Marsh scale, so like when you saying 6, I'm like, what the fuck's a 70? Like my guess was like you played 5 games last year, or maybe you played like 100. So it was like, so for you and anyone out there who's interesting, let's like break it down. Let's do 3, 6, and 9. If SMT 5 is a 6, what's a 3, and then what's a 9 on your scale?
This guy in chat says I gave it a 7 out of 10. That is, I don't think true. I'm pretty sure it's a 6.
Project, but... you are now officially gaslighting in chat. I don't know how to respond to that, but I appreciate it.
There's no way I said 7 because I'm probably me saying 6 because of like what you're saying. Like, oh, what's your scale? Some people said your scale is, to me, 6 is like, oh, that sucks. That's terrible. To me, a 5 is like, I'd have to think of a good example for what a 5 game is to me. Something that is like very good conceptually, but just maybe a chore at times, which is close to me what 5 is. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to think of like a good example of a game to put that at though. But to me, like 1 would be like literally it's absolutely broken. Like I don't know. What's a stupid example? Like Big Rigs or some shit. Like you can't play it. And then a 5 would be like, I'm trying to think of a game that has a really good sort of skeleton, but it's just one of my favorite. Here's one. One of my favorite games is Deadly Premonition. That's a 5 out of 10, but it's my favorite game.
That's a perfect 5 out of 10 because what it does, what it exceeds in, it's great, and then what it's bad at is terrible at.
Yeah, it's terrible combat wise. The story, the world is great. I love that game. So, and then a 10 would be, I don't know if I have a 10 out of 10 game. Maybe like, I don't think I do. Red Dead, or like that's a really good game. I really think. What's another one I could pick?
Oh, sorry, Deadly Premonitions too. That should be your 10 out of 10.
I haven't even played that one. I need to. It looks bad.
You have a Switch now. You have no excuse.
I do. I need to play it really bad. I don't know what a perfect game would be to me, but like if you said like a 9 out of 10, maybe like, I don't know, like Halo 3 or something. Like I don't know, just so something that's all around fun.
This was like one of my funniest things. When I would find people who were critical of 5, or even whether it be overly critical or appropriately critical, I always thought it was so funny. Of like, the first question I always wanted to ask people, like, dude, SMT 5 was the worst game I played last year. To me, just then said, what did you play last year? Because, like, I saw a tweet, I forgot who it was, like, someone put this out, and I think about this a lot. I think more people need to play really bad games before they say something's really bad. Because, like, the amount of times when someone, like, if you play as much as I said I loved Monarch. Monarch looks like shit compared to 5 in terms of quality. So it's one of those funny things of like you've got to experience the really bad, because like if you sit there and you played SMT 5 and were like, SMT 5 was the worst RPG I played last year, you probably didn't play than 3 RPGs last year.
It's like impossible almost.
So
but I don't know. Some people I guess don't have time for that.
Yeah, it is one of those things of like, well, yeah, but then like, what are you comparing it to? So then it mostly just kind of goes to, like, so with your review score, I would have given some context for the score because you had never reviewed before. Because like in my head is like, because you're coming. I think you know what would have fixed it without even giving context if you had said D, or like something like a D plus, like it's above average. Like, because I feel like you're grading 6.
Oh, you like lagged out for a second.
It's probably my thing was being weird, but like because now that you were telling me of like, yeah, how when you do the experience videos you like on like a letter grade scale, I think you were almost doing the number with the letter grade scale mixed together, which almost made it seem lower by comparison.
Yeah, like a 6 to me is not bad. I think people thought it was. 6 to me is like, yeah, it's above average. It's got some problems, but it's a pretty fun game. I should have specified that more, and in the future I probably will. I mean, I definitely will.
I just always love it because it was one of those things of like I had to like ask myself, like, does he score things? Like, are you known for scoring a lot?
I don't. I usually don't score stuff with a number. It was probably a little weird. Every review I've ever watched is like, yeah, it's got 8 out of 10, 6 out of 10. So I was like, yeah, I'll do it too.
You're doing the you got to bring in your like, who's your go-to like when you're doing reviews? Like, who's someone's like, okay, I'm excited for X game, I want to check out the review on this site, or like what reviewer? Like who's your go-to?
Like what reviews I check out? Oh. Man, I used to watch a lot of Angry Joe.
Oh my god! I swear to God, you must have a fucking bug in like the microphone when I talk to like Gnarly. Literally, the last 2 things I talked about was Fear and Angry Joe. When I talked about for way
Gnarly
too long.
likes Angry Joe. That's really funny.
Well, I don't think he likes Angry Joe, but we talked about him on stream playing Ultimax. Of like, Angry Joe was a guy who was capstoned by his own fame of being angry. Like, he literally cannot post a video without the word angry being in the title. Like, he could be like, like, if he posted his wedding video, he'd be like, I'm angry at our wedding reception. This is the happiest family life.
His reviews will say angry review in it, but half the time he's not even mad. I'll be like, this is a good game, you should play this. So it's just, yeah, part of the branding. I like his reviews. I like, I don't look at too many reviews often. I will look at like, maybe I'll look at like threads on like Reddit every now and then, which is funny, or like Twitter. I'll see what people say, but that's about it. Just like, it's most of my research on a game comes from like what bugs or something does it have, or what like fixes does it need to have.
Bro, let's have a whole conversation. The bugs of SMT5. That could be its own review.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't run into too many bugs, but the performance was a pretty big thing. So that was one that I heard about from researching it.
By the way, I wish I could have just been a fly on your shoulder as you played, because you only played on handheld mode, and like that was the one funny thing with when I played it on TV, it looked so good I could never play it on handheld again.
Yeah, it's a little crusty on handheld, but it's fine overall. I should have got a regular Switch, but I didn't have money at the time.
You now get that interesting perspective though, of like now you'd be like, well, I'm coming, because I think most people play Switch games in handheld. I think at least, like, if we gave like a pie chart, it would be at least 60-40 is in handheld compared to docked.
Yeah. It's I love handheld stuff. It's like usually what Nintendo is for me, so I just went with the Switch Lite.
It's so funny that like you took forever to get the Switch, and I bet you have not even scratched the surface of all the exclusives you've missed.
Yeah, I have like 3 Switch games. I got SMT, Phantasy Star 1. So there you go.
I'm like so mad. I don't know if this is my internet or whatever. You literally only cut out for your second game. I heard Phantasy Star and SMT5.
Oh yeah, it's lagging a little bit. The other game is Animal Crossing. Good game.
Literally
Fun
couldn't
game.
have anything less in common with any of them all.
Yeah, they're all totally different games.
Oh my gosh. Well, actually, hey, embargo day's up, and also really who gives a crap about embargoes anyway? You have 4 games, you big liar. You have 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim.
Oh, you're right. That's a big one. I need to get started on that. I can't
So,
speak much about it, but I mean I got the box. You can talk about the box if you want.
bro, let me tell you, that box, that's a hell of a cutting board. They sure
It
use
is,
that
yeah.
image of BJ a lot, I'll tell you what. You know what's funny? As someone who hasn't played 13 Sentinels, are you just like, is this a game about food? Do you play as the robot? What is this box? Like, if you have no context of the game, how confusing is that box when you got it?
Yeah, I don't know anything really about it aside from like robots and shit, like 13 different routes, whatever. So I know there's food in it, and I know there's like the hamburger and the yakisoba. So I assume food's a big part of it since there's an apron and a cutting board in the box.
It's
So I guess we'll see.
a thing that's in the game. The story has nothing to do about food, but it's a part of the game, I guess.
There's food in it. Well, I guess I'll see then.
It was either that they had to choose between, do we include a lot of food stuff or do we include a bunch of like robot mecha stuff that'd probably be very expensive. They're like, oh god, no, let's just go with
Just
the
run a
cutting
cutting board. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's your piece of wood. It's a nice cutting board though. Hey, I like it. I don't have one myself, so it'll be useful.
That's like I'm living in a college dorm cutting board. Like comparing it to a real live cutting board for a kid should be like, this is my first cutting board.
Yeah, I like it. It's cool.
So I know you're probably not very big into it, but how much have you played? I am sure you have not gotten past the tutorial because the tutorial is very long.
So I haven't played it at all. I just
Dang.
installed it.
How's that
I
title?
need to get on it.
How's the title screen though? Did the title screen look good?
It's a cool title screen. It looks good. I mean, what I can say about the game is that maybe you can tell me like it looks like a strategy game. Is that right?
Oh boy, that's a loaded question. It
It looks
looks
like
it looks like a lot of things. It's basically baby's first tower defense with very very light strategy.
yeah. I mean, so it looks cool. It looks like a perfect sort of like handheld game to me. Like it would be something I'm gonna sit in bed and just like go through the story. And it's a PS4 originally, right? So I think it would be for me it'd be a lot harder to play on a PS4 because a super story heavy game I like to just be able to kind of like do it wherever. So I'm excited to do that. I'm excited to play it on the Switch for
No,
sure.
yeah. The funniest thing about I've never been less excited about a port. This 13 Sentinels port is like me being told I have to go to church. I'm like, I don't care. There's some stuff to learn from it. It'll be interesting, but it's like, but it is like the perfect place to play it. I'm just this biased asshole who's already beaten it and platinumed it. And like, I'm not going to learn anything new from the second playthrough. This is an extremely
Yeah.
story-heavy game. There's no multiple choices. Like, there's one answer for everything. So, I've thought it's really interesting. Of like, well, first off, I want to say I could not agree. I could not agree more. Like the way I actually played it on PS4, I played the entirety of the game on my Vita. So I just
Oh
did
wow.
remote play because the game was
Yeah.
actually originally designed to be a Vita and PS4 game, and you can tell when you play that game, you're like, "Yep, this had the budget of a really expensive Vita game."
I see. Yeah, I mean it makes more sense to me. Just like as a visual novel type story thing. Yeah, just handheld seems more suited.
Yeah, so the entirety of the game, story-wise, I did all on handheld. I did destruction mode, which is like the tower defense stuff, all on my TV, just because that was like, I don't want any like latency or whatever for it. But the meat and potatoes of the game, I streamed the entire thing to my Vita as if it was a native Vita experience, and it was the whole time I'm playing, I'm like, yep, this was designed for handheld. This was designed to be played in bed or on the go. Like it looks gorgeous on a giant TV, but you don't need it. Like so for you having it on a Switch Lite, you will never play this game and go, God, I wish this was on my TV. You're like, nope.
Yeah.
That 720p display, that's perfect. That's all you need for it.
Honestly, I ought to try that Vita thing because I have a Vita. I don't have any games on it. I have one game on my Vita.
How do you
I
have
need to
more
use it.
games on your Switch than your Vita? And you've owned it for considerably less time.
I bought a Vita at a flea market a long time ago, and I got a Blaze Blue game with it. And I was like, this is cool. And I just never really. The games are too expensive to buy now.
Well, yeah,
Jeez.
you unfortunately waited too long. You've never had a worse time to get into Vita collecting. Everything is expensive unless you go for Japanese only games. Then they're all normally priced.
Okay, I could get down with that. I just
Oh,
never really had a chance to
I have to
properly get
let
into it.
somebody in. Give me your 90-second review of the PlayStation Vita from what you have played of your one game, and I'll be right back.
Okay, yeah, PlayStation Vita. So I bought it at a flea market. Spencer ain't gonna hear this, but it was used, right? So it had Pornhub videos downloaded into it, so I had to delete those. That was my first experience with the Vita, was deleting Pornhub videos. And BlazBlue looks really good on the Vita. HD looks great. I know I said earlier I'm not a fighting kind of guy, but P4 Ultimax and BlazBlue, same company, Arc System Works. So they're fun. They're fun games. They're easy for beginners. So yeah, as a dedicated BlazBlue console, pretty good.
That was perfectly timed. I literally just
Yeah, you
got
just
back.
got back. I gave it a pretty good overview, I would say.
But yeah, if the Vita market ever decides to crash and all the games get really cheap, I mean, even I feel like you're not someone who's like a big physical collector. Everything is super dirt cheap digitally. I would still say it's definitely worth like checking out stuff if you can download it.
I love collecting physical. Definitely.
Where's the Marsh collection? I need a picture of you. Stop posting pictures of your fucking white prison cell wall. Show
Yeah,
us
this
your
is my
physical game
dorm.
collection one of these days.
I gotta go home. This is my shitty dorm. When I'm at home, I got like a nice room with like my games in it, and I don't have too many like I don't have too many like Vita or anything like that we were talking about, but I got a lot of like PS2, 360 stuff like that.
How many physical copies of Fear do you own? That's the real question.
Um, I mean, I own the entire series on 360, so like I have the three main games, and there's like a separate disc for just the DLC that you can play it on. So I have
Oh
that
my
too.
god, I forgot about that. Yeah, back in the day with DLC would come on the disc
Yeah, so I
separately.
got all those. I
Alright.
I should take a picture sometime. Yeah.
Man, wait till Twitter gets a load of your physical collection. Although I like the way you make it seem like you've not been home in like 13 years. Like
Yeah, it's
I've
like
been
a
stuck in my dorm for 5 years. Don't even know what my mom looks like anymore.
it's like a running joke that like every picture I take there will be like a blank wall behind it, or like just some completely bare table or something like that. Yeah, I need to take more pictures of my actual stuff. I got some Japanese games that I picked up there, like I said, so I'm working on like expanding it into different stuff. But
The Marsh
yeah,
library, the Marsh
yeah,
compendium.
for sure. Yeah, I love collecting physical.
Well, let me tell you right now because we did mention Ultimax, and I don't think I've gotten a chance to talk about the Ultimax physical copy. You've never opened a more sad physical copy of a game in the year 2022 than when I got my physical copies of Ultimax. I was like, you could tell that Atlus put literally the least amount of effort into it possible. No manual, no
Oh,
nothing. Like the fact that the Switch has blue on the reverse inside art and calling it art's very generous. Like
yeah.
the PS4 one is just like monotone safety text. Like when you open it up, it's like what sucks because like when you look at the box, it looks really nice. That cover really pops. It's really fun. But then I remember the PS3 and 360 one, like how chunky those arena manuals were. They were so big and full of color and had all the moves in them.
That's right. Yeah, I have both of those physical. I pre-ordered them, so I got the Teddy balloon too.
And the part 1 of 2 tarot cards of what a weird thing of hey, you better buy this fighting game and this 3DS RPG to get this tarot card set. It's the only way you're gonna
Yeah,
complete it.
yeah, they do have big manuals though. Now that you think about it, I mean, oh, this is a no fucking brainer, but like I bought some Japanese games, and those manuals are like books, like the older
Oh
ones,
my
like
god. Well,
they're huge.
even old weird ones like not old weird ones like even recent like releases like Catherine on Vita, how that got a Japanese physical that has an instruction manual.
Yeah, I like manuals quite a bit. I like to collect strategy guides too, which are becoming like,
Oh.
less relevant because of the internet and
But
stuff.
dude,
But
but
I love
dude, I literally I have a shelf of art books and then directly underneath it a shelf of all strategy guides. It's
yeah, I love those. They got the art and stuff. They're really cool.
what are some games you think of that have strategy guides that fuck really hard? Like my go-tos for current ones, any FromSoft game. The company who does that, Future Press, does awesome work.
Those are good. I mean, it's kind of generic, but I have the Skyrim one is like massive, like an
Whoa, dude,
800
that is not generic. I
pages.
mean, Skyrim's popular. That is a beefy manual. Like,
That's a big book.
are you talking about
Yeah.
like the one with all the DLC too?
Yeah, it's huge.
That is a
Yeah.
that is an enormous, like the one for that and the one for like Fallout 3 with all the DLC. I always remember seeing those. I mean, like, gee, that book was more intimidating than seeing the game.
It's a really cool strategy guide. I like the Dragon Quest ones. I have one in my college dorm because I bought it recently for a game I've never played. It's for like Lunar on the Sega something.
Oh no, yeah, Lunar
Nice
on
book.
Sega. What, Sega CD though, or which one?
Let me see. Let me see if I can. It's my chair.
That actually sounded like a dog getting hit by a car. I'm not even gonna lie. That was a
It's a
violent
wooden chair,
noise.
yeah. It's a very terrible noise, very ear piercing. Let me see. What console is this on? I believe it's Sega CD, but it's a cool book and it's got like anime like screenshots in it and like bios for the characters and it's really cool.
Now. Are you a Final Fantasy fan?
A little bit. I've only really played like one. I played two and five, and I think I played six. So like the early
Oh
ones.
my god! By the way, as someone who's played one and only
Yeah,
one, I've recently played Final Fantasy Origin: The Stranger of Paradise, the meme game. And when I say
yeah.
play it, I should beat this game because I love Final Fantasy, I love Team Ninja, I love Koei Tecmo. I fucking platinumed that game. I played 42 hours over the course of like a week. That
Wow.
that is
Jeez.
that game is a mind fuck. That game
Is it
is
good?
I
Yeah.
love it. Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. And if you like Final Fantasy 1 or just Final Fantasy in general, it literally has some of the most batshit insane callbacks. Like it was weird to be playing this game where I'm playing as a blonde buff guy named Jack and I'm blowing up like cactars and toneberries and like all these classic Final Fantasy enemies, and I'm like brutally murdering them in crystallized blood, and I'm going, God, I gotta boot up Final Fantasy One again. Like they have they feel like they shouldn't have anything to do with each other, but like it pays such a good amount of respect to the like source material. It is absolutely insane. Like that is a game that I'm glad there's a demo of because like it's one of those games that if you looked at Twitter, you would think, "Oh, this is a fun meme game." It is a legitimately really really good game. I have no idea how it ended up being so good.
I'll have to play it. That's what I thought because I'm familiar with one. I was like, like what is this? Like what what's the correlation here? They don't look anything alike. This dude's like wearing a t-shirt.
By the way,
Uh,
when you see the correlation, like by the time the game ends and rolls credits, and you realize why, like, because if you say the name of it, it's Stranger of Paradise Final Fantasy Origin. And then you look at
yeah,
it, you're like, what the fuck do any of these words have to do with this beat 'em up game? And like by the
yeah.
time you finally realize what the like relation is, it's like that is actually ingenious. Like, do you know who wrote the story for it?
For the new one, no, I don't know.
Okay, so the design of the characters are all Nomura. It was developed by Team Ninja, the Ninja Gaiden people, and the Neo team. And the
Yeah.
story was written by the guy who does, going all the way back to the beginning of the show, the novels for Kingdom Hearts.
Oh wow. Jeez, that's weird.
It's like the weirdest correlation of people like this shouldn't work. None of these things together should lead to a good decision. And it was like
Yeah.
easily like it's now honestly it's probably my top 5 like Final Fantasy games of all time.
I want to play it just because like I want to see how that relates to that like D&D basically video game.
Oh,
It's
dude!
super.
If you're someone who likes job systems, one of the best job systems in recent memory. Like there is the most in depth job system upon job system of job systems.
Yeah, I do like the job system. I have to pick that one up. It wasn't something that I thought I was gonna play just because I thought it was a meme game, like you said. But now hearing that it's not, that's good. I haven't paid much attention to it just because of that.
I'm very glad I played it before Elden Ring though, because when I played Elden Ring first and then I got a code for it, I was like, this is weird to go because they both play like a Souls-like game, but they're not. They're not. They play similarly, but they're not. Like one is levels, the other is all about loot and gear and stuff like that. So I'm glad I at least kind of separated it because it would be a very weird back and forth.
Yeah, I'll probably pick it up sometime on sale, so it won't be for a bit. But yeah, it sounds cool. It does sound pretty cool.
Now, somehow we've talked for an hour and 14 minutes and haven't even actually talked about the main topic of this godforsaken podcast. So let's actually get into the news, which is our main topic. So today, Epic and Unreal had a big presentation today. Happy launch day. Unreal Engine 5 is now out for everybody. A couple of developers already had Unreal Engine 5 test kits. Actually, most people don't know this, but Fortnite actually went, when it did the Dwayne The Rock Johnson statue season like you were talking about, that was when they implemented Unreal Engine 5. Like, so that is now running on Unreal 5 for all systems.
I could tell it was a little different. It felt a little, yeah.
So Unreal 5 is now gone from in development to now anyone who wants to be an Unreal partner can do it. It's like it is just as easy to get Unreal 5 as it was for Unreal 4. And they had this big presentation. They showed off a bunch of stuff. They confirmed Avengers is dead by announcing a new Tomb Raider, and they had this big wall of partners and developers who were working on Unreal games. And I, of course, being a big giant nerd like I am, I was like, of course Atlus will be here. Because if you remember when Unreal Engine had that big presentation in March, I think it was GDC in March of 2017, Atlus actually was there. Atlus Japan was there because they were like, hey, we just announced SMT 5, and this is a big Switch exclusive on Unreal 4. Like, obviously it was a paid partnership, but it was like, from everything I've heard, I was like, oh, this has got to be good news, thinking that this is like, assuming SMT5 was not something that set your Switch on fire. I expected Unreal was going to be something that the studio would stick with, or hoped that would be the case. So first off, I want to kind of break down a couple of things, because obviously Unreal 5 is an engine. Just think of Unreal Engine 4 but on crack. It's nothing drastically different, but it just makes everything easier to develop and better looking to play. So we're not going to get into it from a technical side, but I wanted to kind of talk about it with you of like from a fan perspective. First off, when you think back to SMT5, did you like that it was on Unreal 4, and did you feel like that technical change benefited or brought down the experience for you?
I thought it was pretty cool. I mean, it made it feel like a more like fully fledged, like this is a AAA game sort of thing. Like this is how SMT could be at its peak, like a super high budget kind of development thing. I liked it. I mean, obviously it had its issues with like frame rate, but I don't think it, because they didn't show up for the Unreal Engine thing, so I don't think it's something they need to stick with. Like it was maybe something they tried and decided they didn't like it.
Well, I don't know if you remember, because some people contest me on this, but this is 100% the truth, and no one has ever told me I'm wrong otherwise. The only reason SMT5 was made in Unreal is because Atlus was given a lot of money by Nintendo to make it an exclusive, and Unreal went to Nintendo saying, please make your new system have an Unreal exclusive. And they were like, we're not fucking making Mario in Unreal, let's give it to some third-party exclusive. And two games that had financial benefit to it was Unreal was, Jesus, No More Heroes 3, well, technically also Travis Strikes Again, and SMT5.
Yeah.
So, I always think it's really funny when people are like, because I'm one of those people who are like, oh my god, SMT5 ran way better than it had any right to. Like, it's honestly like kind of a technical mastery that it runs as well as it does, because a lot of Unreal games on Switch are really, really hard to optimize, because like when it's done well, like with a Fortnite or with a triangle strategy or something like that, okay, Deep Weeb, if that's true, I will be absolutely fucking amazed. Deep Weeb says Yoshi's Crafted World was Unreal Engine 4. I'm gonna look that up, because I hope to God that's true. I will buy that game the next chance if Yoshi is, I feel like that's a troll post, but I'm gonna have to look this up. Deep Weeb, I know you've not proven me wrong. I'm gonna look this up.
It seems like they're serious.
But either way, most Unreal games have a really hard time running very well. Like, I don't know if you followed it, but Dragon Quest XI, one of the reasons that port took so long for Switch, they literally had to remake the game to run on Switch. That's why there's a difference between Definitive Edition S and Dragon Quest XI.
Oh, yeah, I played Dragon Quest 11 on PC. I wasn't sure about that difference on the Switch, actually. That's interesting.
Yeah, it is a whole separate code base. Everything looks different. They basically had to make an entire new game's worth of assets and visuals. It's a whole completely other thing. So there are games like Dragon Quest XI, I think I used to say was the standard for third-party games on Switch using Unreal. I would say SMT 5 is now because of how much bigger and grander in scope it is for everything, especially for the type of game it is. But then you look at something like a No More Heroes 3. And, like, I don't know if you've seen No More Heroes 3, but that open world literally gets to, like, single... Like, honestly, another Unreal game that got money from it, Deadly Premonitions 2. That's Unreal
Yeah,
Engine 4. That chugs. That's
it
super,
looks
super
pretty bad.
chugs.
Yeah.
So, like, I always am impressed for how it was, because I think at the end of the day, they designed the game knowing where those performance hitches were going to be there. So, like, there were never moments, at least, like, where I thought, oh my god, the frame rate was affecting the platforming, because there wasn't necessarily a lot of platforming. Deep Weeb, correcting me again. If it is Unity, I'm gonna be eating my words, but I know No More Heroes is. I'm running fast and loose with my knowledge here for it. But so then, Marsh, what I'm gonna think of is, after playing 5, were you kind of like, oh, I hope we stick with this, or like, how do you feel with the kind of wishy-washiness of them sticking with in-house engines?
Like, I don't really know how game development works, but to me, it almost seemed like a lot of my problems with 5 were them, like, it seemed to me like they were trying to get used to, like, making these high quality assets for this big engine, and then they sort of neglected other parts of the game. That's what it seemed like to me. So I wouldn't really care if they didn't use it in the future. I think Soul Hackers 2 honestly looks like it has, like, way more personality to me already, whether that's good or bad. I think it just looks like a more sort of, like, nuanced game, and it's using an older engine. So I don't really care what they do in the future, as long as they can get that balance back of, like, everything's polished, the story, everything else. Yeah.
Now, quick correction. Deep Weeb was correct. Deadly Premonition was Unity.
Still runs terrible.
Unity's kind of a rough engine to make look good. Like, even the most graphically impressive game on Unity, which I think is the new Oddworld Soulstorm game, even on PS5 that still has a rough time, and that's a pretty popular engine. I will say, though, the first thing I googled was Yoshi's Crafted World Unreal, and the first suggestion was a Digital Foundry video saying, "Is Nintendo is this real?" Like, that is 100% real. That is the only apparent game that I can find that Nintendo has published a game with Unreal 4. Well, that they
That's
developed,
funny.
but that is wild. That they're like, what should we use for Unreal? It's fucking Yoshi's Crafted World on the Switch.
It's a weird combo.
So yeah, so it's like, development wise, SMT 5 really, I honestly believe it could have come out sooner if it wasn't an Unreal game, because they had a lot of internal struggles of, like, how hard it was for them to get their legs around that engine. But I guess I'm kind of sad if they decide not to go with it with 4 or 5 in the future, because I look at how other studios, once they've got over that technical hurdle and once they've really learned everything, how nice it all has gone for it. Because I look at something like Kingdom Hearts 3, that took a really long time, but that game still looks crazy. That is an Unreal. That is a crazy, crazy game. Final Fantasy VII Remake, still, like, that is, like, one of the most gorgeous games I have ever seen. Like, whether it be PS4 or 5 or PC. And, like, Tekken, all these fighting games, like, how all these, like, different companies even the last Tales game, like, so what, especially for RPGs, Unreal has been a funny thing of, like, seeing how slow the adoption was, but then once it was kind of accepted, a lot of companies were like, okay, well, we'll do this. Like, obviously there will be cases of still using in-house engines. Like, I think the only reason Soul Hackers was made in the engine it was, the TMS engine and everything like that, that was because that game's been in development since 2019. Like, they were still in the depths of what the fuck is Unreal at that point for them with SMT5. So it was like, they weren't going to risk a new engine on 2 games, so I don't blame it for that. My worry, though, is, like, clearly, like, I don't think Soul Hackers 2 is losing anything by not being in Unreal 4, but just by the immediate comparison, like because I'm not sure of how much Soul Hackers 2 you've watched. I love everything about how it looks. I think the character models look fantastic. Like, it's doing a lot of really great things. As soon as I see shots of her running through the dungeons, the corridors, I'm like, whoa, this looks old.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm pretty much in the same boat. It looks more like, I don't know, I mean, it looks like a mix between like P5 and like almost like SMT4 or something. Like if you mix those together, that's kind of what you'd get. That's what
Marsh,
it
have
looks
you
like
not
to
played
me.
Tokyo Mirage Sessions?
No, I haven't.
It is
I don't have a Wii
literally
U.
Tokyo
Or
Mirage Sessions. That is exact because it came out literally in between SMT4 and P5. That is why it looks like that.
yeah, I need to play TMS at some point. And I said I don't have a Wii U, but I know it's on Switch, so
And
at
hey,
some point
it's the
I'll pick it
it's the
up.
best version on Switch too. You get everything.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's not to a detriment, but I think it will lead to a lot of comparisons. Like, I think you'll see people from the mainstream who may have just started with P5, then went to SMT5, and then go to Soul Hackers 2, and then go, oh, wow, that's kind of linear. Like, it looks really
Yeah.
pretty, but, oh, it's going to be a shorter game, or, like, oh, it might be not have as many different aspects like that. So, I'm going to also put that into the camp of when people are like, why is Soul Hackers 2 not called Devil Summoner or SMT? They don't really want that comparison. Also, that's not going to help it in a lot of cases. Like, obviously it has elements for it, but Soul Hackers 2 is going to sell just as many copies with or without that moniker attached to it. And in some cases, the follow-up to SMT5 being a very bright, neon, pop-colored, linear RPG may be confusing to people if they kept that moniker.
That's a good point. Yeah, if you call it SMT or Devil, yeah, it's going to be a little confusing seeing it. People would probably definitely call it a downgrade, but just people that don't know how many different series there are.
They downgraded the Switch exclusive to a PS5 game.
Yeah. I don't know about Unreal. Maybe if they tried it again, I think they could do it better. Parts of SMT5 to me literally kind of just felt like a tech demo almost. Like the final I mean, this is spoilers. Can I say spoilers?
You can spoil.
Like the part where you're going after like Zeus and Odin and like that felt like a tech demo to me.
Bro,
like,
that final area is
Yeah.
massive. That could be some game's whole open world. Like, that final area is legitimately like that is that I was wondering where you were coming at when you described it as a tech demo. I will agree with that. That final area is like, how did you get this to run? Because that is
It's just
massive
huge
area.
place. Yeah, I was like, if they just sort of get over more of those technical hurdles in the future, I think they could come out with something even better. Yeah.
And I mean, at least we know that they will be doing more, because like SMT5 is not going to be stranded on the Switch. Like, they're going to re-release it. They're going to like mess around with it. They're either going to enhance the experience or re-release it somewhere else, and that will involve them having to mess around with the code. Because like, I genuinely think that like, no matter what platform SMT5 goes on next, I think it'll, like, if it looks this good on the Switch, when you don't have those limiters there, because like, the game is designed with an uncapped frame rate. It's mostly at 30, but it goes up to 60 sometimes. So like, seeing that game without the technical restrictions, I think, would be a really nice boost up of like, oh hey, this can look a lot more modern when it's not stuck as a Switch exclusive.
Yeah, I'd love to see whatever they do, PC, whatever, PS4, PS5, I don't know. I'd like to play it again with on the TV, because I only have the handheld perspective on it.
You'll have like that moment of like, if you ever go to a movie, I like that their big thing now is like, you don't want to watch a movie at home like a pleb, do you? You want to watch it on the big screen. Like, you need to have that moment of SMT5 of you're in the final world looking down at God and everything else like that, and you're seeing it on your big screen. You're like, oh man, I played this game wrong.
I probably will think that, because I've seen like screenshots of people like emulating it. It looks way better than what I played, so I imagine it'll be a lot more fun.
So let's just say we're living in the fantasy world we live in now. It's all Atlus games come to all systems. When SMT5 gets ported to everything, would you go PC for it, or would you be like, oh, I want to try it on this console or whatever?
I'd probably do PC. That'd be probably my favorite choice. Yeah.
And are you going to do PC, I assume, as well for Soul Hackers?
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
I am so excited, nervous for them, because that's their first internally developed PC port.
Ah, okay.
Because think about it, every other PC port was done by an outside studio. Nocturne wasn't them. Catherine wasn't them. Strikers wasn't them. So it's like, this is their first internal project on PC, and my hope for them is that it's at least playable, because the tradition most Japanese games companies have of it comes to PC and there's a shit ton of problems.
Yeah, I hope it's playable too. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah,
Actually,
I mean,
you know
even
what?
Elden
They
Ring had
probably have a lot
problems.
of good luck, because the last game they worked on, that team, they were working on Nvidia tech already, with like, because it was, if you're making a game on Switch, it's basically already a really low powered PC game. So hopefully their experience with the Nvidia tech will hopefully lead to Soul Hackers 2, because like, it looks pretty, but it's clearly not a technically demanding game, so hopefully that kind of doesn't correlate with it.
Yeah, I mean, maybe the Xbox will have, maybe that'll mean it's better too, because I don't know. None of the other games are on Xbox.
Man, I am so ready to buy that game on Xbox, even though I know I will not be playing it on Xbox.
I mean, I definitely won't be,
But
but it's cool to see.
yeah, it's just
Yeah,
one of those things of like, even as someone who's not an Xbox collector, that's a weird thing to see. You know, it's like, whoa, an Atlus developed game on Xbox again, finally.
it's very weird. It's just like there's no context for people that are just getting into it. Soul Hackers 2, yeah.
Like, what a choice, man. I think about that sometimes. Like, they could have just called it Soul Hackers Ringo edition or something. Like, they didn't need to call it 2, but like, considering I've heard the directors talk about why, I appreciate their commitment to it. Like, they didn't need to call it 2. It's not going to help them, but
Right.
it's just because they're such fans of the original and it is based in that world. I appreciate their commitment.
Yeah, I wouldn't have had a problem with it if they just called it Soul Hackers. I would have been like, okay, it's a reboot, it's different, that's fine. But if they're going with that same world, then I guess it makes sense. It's still a little weird for most people that probably don't have the context of the first one at all, but whatever.
The back of the box better say from the critically unsuccessful, no, from the critically successful and financially terrible 3DS game that came out 8 years ago. Here you go, guys. We gave you the sequel, and it's
The
not on
sequel, yeah.
Nintendo.
It's just too weird, but I guess that's how it is. They got their vision in mind.
All right, so we're gonna play a quick game, and then we're gonna wrap up with some questions. So right now we have unannounced Persona title that the Persona team is making, Project Refantasy by Studio Zero. I want you to tell me,
Oh,
do you want either of those games? You can pick or choose. Do you want them to be made on Unreal? Because we don't know what those games' engines are on. Do you want them to
yeah.
be made in Unreal, whether it be 4 or 5, or do you want those to stick with an in-house engine?
I feel like Persona maybe could use like the models from the dancing games, right? Like they still look good to me. I don't know. Do they need to upgrade it to a new engine? I think it'd be
I'm
fine if
gonna
they
tell
use
you
an
right
in-house
now,
engine.
those models are pretty much used exclusively for dancing or porn on
Yeah,
Twitter. They were not made for a game. Those, like, for all those people out there who always like, guys, they're making a Persona 3 remake. That's why they made the dancing game. Those models are not ready
right.
for that. That's not what those were for. That
That makes
engine is
sense.
not ready.
To me, I don't know much about Reef Fantasy, but if it was the Persona game, it'd be cool to see an Unreal Engine game, but I think it's fine if they stick with in-house. I don't care too much for if it looks super like groundbreaking, as long as it's just like a really good game. So whatever works better for them.
Okay. All right, we're gonna do some questions because I gotta try and wrap this up in the next 20 minutes or so I don't go over 2 hours and kill our entire night. Let's see. Our first question, speaking of Soul Hackers, comes from Tofu Kinemi. Says, "Is Soul Hackers 2 going to be commercially successful?" Let's just play a betting game. Do you think at the end of the day they're going to look at the... Because like, I feel like it is, because I think they're putting their big marketing bucks into this game, like they did with SMT5 last year.
I want to say like yeah, but obviously not as good as SMT5, and I don't think it'll sell well on Xbox at all. That's just me.
Game Pass, baby. Just stick it on Game
Game
Pass.
Pass,
Get
yeah.
those free downloads.
Yeah. So it'll probably do fine on PC. It's like this is an Atlus game. Everybody knows Atlus, so
Marsh,
I'm
are
sure
you
it'll
a
get good
Game Pass
PC.
subscriber?
No, I'm not. I don't.
Would
I
you
haven't. I
sign up for
don't.
Game Pass for Soul Hackers?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, why not? If it's only like $1, right?
Man, if you've never signed up for Game Pass, so when I got a Series X for Halo, they are begging you to become a Game Pass. They're like, we'll give you 3 months for $1. Just don't leave and put on recurring pay. I'm like, Jesus, okay. You okay,
I'd do it
guys?
for $1. Yeah, sure. I'd go for that. But yeah, I think it'll sell well on PlayStation, PC probably. I can't see it selling well on Xbox, but that's just I don't know.
I'll place a bet with you right now, but it's got a weird stipend to it. I bet you Soul Hackers 2 will sell 1 million quicker than SMT 5 sells 1 million.
You think? I guess. Why?
Mostly just because it is on more platforms.
Oh, okay.
Because I'm like, it sold 1 million in about 2.5 months. So in my brain, I'm like, because it's coming out at a really dead time. And SMT5 didn't necessarily have the legs I thought it would, of like, people keep buying it. So like, I think if it's still a pretty slow summer, it's a worldwide release, and they get those Microsoft bucks, like if we're counting those downloads as sales, I'm thinking it'll get to 1 million quicker. I think overall 5 will probably sell more than Soul Hackers 2, but I feel like it'll be a quicker million.
Yeah, I was gonna say like, I thought maybe the 2 would throw people off, but obviously the 5 didn't, so maybe not. Yeah.
From the people who brought you a really bad port in the 3rd game last summer comes the 5th one.
Yeah, so I'm sure the number doesn't really matter that much.
All right, another question by Chiaki Fanami 64 says, since Atlus has been so silent for so long with Project Refantasy, what do you think is the reason behind it?
I don't really got too much on that one. They're still developing it. They don't know what engine maybe to put it on in the end or something. I don't know. Maybe it's like you said, where they're trying to decide in-house.
You're a good gauge for this, because I'm stupid and I follow way too much stuff with dev work. Someone comes up to you and says, Marsh, when did Refantasy start development? Like active development?
Yeah.
Like when do you think that game has been actually worked on, if you had to guess? Because I know the answer.
What, they announced it like 2017?
They announced it, but that doesn't mean that's when
they've probably been working on it. Maybe I'd say like 2019 or something. Maybe
you are 100% correct, because do you know what came out in 2019? Catherine Full Body.
I don't know. Full Body. Okay.
Which they made. That was their let's make a quick game and try and make some money game first. Because they were like, this game's going to be a really long time. We better try and get some stuff. When people say it's been in development hell, I think people also expect that it's been in development since Persona 5 released. Which, legitimately, Soul Hackers 2 has probably had more dev time than Refantasy did. And that's a way smaller project with a way smaller team.
Yeah, maybe they're just working on technical hurdles, or
they're just trying to think of a name. They're like, what the fuck are we cannot call this Refantasy. What is this game?
Right. I haven't followed this game at all, really, but
there's really no reason to. It's like, I like to think of like Refantasy of like, the less I think about that game, the more excited I'll be when they finally show it off. Because remember, the only reason they announced it, they didn't announce it to like trick you guys or to like make you wait. This wasn't like a Cyberpunk thing. They literally announced this game because they knew everyone wanted that team to make Persona 6, and they knew they didn't want to make Persona 6.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Oh, Kieran, I like this bet. What releases first, Prime 4 or Refantasy? I'm Prime 4 all the way.
Considering, there's barely anything about Refantasy, sure.
I'll be real, there's less about Prime 4, but I trust Retro. That like they've at least been working on that game for 3 years, so it's like, okay, please.
Yeah, and I mean, Dread did really well, so maybe.
Oh, dude. Have you played Dread?
Nah, but I played some of the older Metroids, so I do want to play it.
It's really good.
It looks cool.
Mr. Ticklefingers, what a name. Despite the mixed emotions about SMT5, do you believe it is a good time to be a Megaton fan? I'll let you answer this first.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's like a super easy, I think, game to get into. I mean, now more than ever, you've got, translation patches for one thing. You can play pretty much any game in the entire franchise in English. So it's probably the best time to get into the series. You can pretty much access the entirety of the series content, even from Japan, whenever you want. So for sure.
This is how you know we're living in the best timeline.
Yeah.
We're getting Soul Hackers 2 in general. I could have stopped it there. And it's a worldwide release. That is
Yeah, that too.
bonkers.
So for sure, yeah, definitely a good time to get into the series.
Now, I probably should have brought this question up by Immortal Slasher a while ago when we talked about the Vita. What are your thoughts on... They were specifically asking about 7 Pirates H, but I know you're not a big nerd like me and don't know random Idea Factory RPGs. Now, you probably are aware of these type of games. We are a pretty low-budget RPG, but we have very bright anime visuals and very big-breasted anime girls, and there are mini games where you can touch and massage them. What are your thoughts on these games? Because I'm just going to be honest. I own a lot of these. You don't have a PlayStation Vita collection and don't own some of these games.
Yeah, I was gonna say they're probably on the Vita. I haven't played any of those games, and I would tell you if I have. Like, I used to want to try a Neptunia game, and I just never did. So I haven't played any of them.
Neptunia, though. Those are good.
I know they sell well. So if it's something that works for you and people like it, sure, go for it, right?
I'll say they sell enough. They sell enough to make another. I don't think I would maybe not say well, but if they sell well enough to come out in America, that's how you know it's been a success.
Yeah. So hey, if it works for them, and they find you a little
I would
niche
recommend
there.
if you get a chance, and I'm sure it is dirt cheap. Check out Hyperdimension Neptunia Rebirth 1. It's a remake of the first PS3 game, but considerably way better. And like, do you remember the whole? Do you remember the premise of like what the world is for Neptunia?
I mean, it's something like their video game.
All the girls are
right?
the video game consoles. Neptunia is the Sega Saturn, and then there is an Xbox one, a PlayStation one, and a Nintendo one.
Yeah, so I mean, it sounds funny. It's not normally my type of game to like grabbing the titties and shit, but I'd try it.
Thankfully there's no grabbing titties in the Neptunia games. That's just funny lols. That's like I'm the distinguished gamer. I'm playing my Neptunia. The grabbing the titties game, that's like the hey man, we're trying to get the degenerates out here. But I'm all here for it. I'm like, hey man, make those games. You don't gotta play them, but I like that they're still being made.
Yeah, I mean, hey, if it works and people are buying it, whatever, go for it.
Now, Immortal Slasher did have a much more important question. Are you aware of the gift that Yuzo Koshiro has just gotten by Sega and Atlus?
It's the alcohol, right?
He got a one of a kind bottle of sake that had a Sega and an Atlus thing on there. And the joke is we now have to steal this from him. I'm just going to be honest. There is no one who's done more with less recognition for both companies than anything. Because obviously Yuzo Koshiro is known for a bajillion Sega games. But I think a lot of Atlus fans sleep on the fact that he's done all the music for the Etrian Odyssey games.
Wow, okay. Yeah, like, I mean, I did see that. Looks crazy. I didn't know it was one of a kind, actually.
I mean, I just love that. For no reason, they just gave him this beautiful bottle of sake. Like, thank you for all your hard work. Here's this.
Yeah, Sega sake.
Well, look, they gave us fucking couple of Midwest chumps a fucking ironing board and a cutting board.
Yeah.
Where's our one of a kind bottle of alcohol? Didn't you see? We gave you a 6. Should be lucky it wasn't a 5.
We give you a 6. Yeah, for real. I would love to get one of those. I don't think it's probably logistically possible to send me the booze over whatever.
Never say never. So now, obviously, we can't steal it from Yuzo Koshiro. But, you know what we could do? Become friends with him. Meet him one day. TGS is coming up. It's opened their borders. You could go to TGS this year. Be like, Yuzo Koshiro, my goal of this trip has just been to meet you, say thank you for your hard work, and then try and drink some of your one-of-a-kind alcohol from Atlus.
Yeah, we could get him to open it up for us.
That'd be a hell of a stream. Let me just tell you. The 3 of us all getting drunk, drinking sake from the Atlus bottle, playing Streets of Rage 4.
That sounds fun. Yeah, I'd love that.
I could actually, if that happened, I would actually just die. I could be like, you know what, that's cool. Hit me with the bullet train. I've done enough on this earth. It feels like it's ready.
I just gotta know, like, what does the Atlus, what does sake taste like?
Oh, you gotta imagine there's like, obviously, the cynical answer, they're probably the same bottle of alcohol. I hope to God they're themed.
Yeah, like they have some flavor to it. Like, there's gotta be something like that. That's so funny. I gotta know. Wasn't that another thing at some point? Was like there were other sakes you could get.
Oh yeah,
I swear
there's been
yeah.
SMT sake. Like there's at least like 3 different types they've done. I know they did one from Strange Journey, and I know they did one for 5.
Yeah, that's right. I wish they had that over here. I don't want to pay like.
You want to go to your
premium
liquor store and
import.
say, "I'd like your finest bottle of Nahabino, please."
Yeah, because I mean, when I lived in Japan, you could go into a drugstore and see like, oh, here's some fucking like anime sake or something. That's not a thing here. There's no like Master Chief, fucking Coors
The
Light or
closest
something.
we have to like anime sake is Mountain Dew Gamer Fuel. That's all we get.
Yeah, it's just funny. I like stuff like that. It's really goofy.
Oh my god. I'm very disturbed, by the way, by someone in chat saying the Sega bottle is Sonic flavored. Just assuming we know what Sonic tastes like. It's just chili dogs.
Like blue raspberry. It's blue.
Alright, so let's rapid fire through a couple of these. Radioactive Cosmic Rays, who's also in the chat, has a couple of questions. So we'll do this one quickly. What is a demon that you would love to see but have not seen in 3D yet?
Oh boy. I don't even know if I could pull one out of my ass right now.
They've
Like,
been doing a good job with Soul Hackers too. Of like they're getting the weird ones. I'm like, man, I don't even like at this point. Oh, I already have an answer. Here's mine. Wicker Man. I need to see Wicker Man in 3D so fucking bad.
Wicker Man is pretty cool. My favorite demon is Uzume, which they did, so I've already seen it. It would be cool to see like a remake of like Satan from DDS 2. That'd be cool.
That is a good one.
I know they've already done it though, but it'd be cool.
Hey, there's never enough variants out there. If they can make a figure for it, they'll make them in 3D.
Yeah, definitely.
Question number 2: do you guys think it is possible for us to get a Persona Q style game, but for mainline SMT?
I wish.
I would say yes, but Persona Q has to start selling better than 2 did. So I think we're gonna get a Persona Q collection before we get an SMT Persona Q. I would love the Etrian team to make an SMT
love that
game.
so much. I would shit my fucking pants if they made that.
Imagine at TGS, Shin Megami Tensei Q, featuring all of the demons from all of the games, music by Yuzo Koshiro. The bottle of sake all makes sense now.
Yeah. I just would love to see like what protagonists would they include. Like, would they acknowledge 9? Would they put them in there?
You'd have to do all of them.
Yeah.
No. They give you the most obscure ones for free, and they sell you the DLC for the other 1 through 5. So you can only play the guy from 9 if... No, not even if. You get 9, Kon, and Gaiten. That's the only 3 you get.
I would love even if they only did like, here's 1 through 5's protagonists or something, I would still love that.
It'd be awesome. I would be all here for it. But yeah, Q has to sell better with the more recognizable one before they can do it. But I think that idea, like, would translate over very, very well.
For sure, it'd be sick.
And this one's just for you. It says, Marsh, what are some RPGs you love that aren't Atlus related? I mean, we've already talked about Fear and Condemn, so really we got to start talking about RPGs more clearly.
RPGs that aren't Atlus related. I've kind of mentioned. I mean, Final Fantasy 1. I love Dragon Quest, like the 3, 4, 5, and 6. I love those a lot.
You've not played 8?
I haven't. I haven't played it because it's really long.
That is also 8 very good. You have you have 7, but you don't have 8.
I'm thinking of 7.
I was gonna say 7 is horrifyingly long. 8 is like not that.
I've played
bad.
8. I like 8, but my favorite is 4, 5, and 6. I love those. I'm trying to think if there's any other specifics that aren't Atlus related. Let me think. RPGs. Let me look at my Steam really quick. There's a game I played recently that's pretty good. Let me see.
All right, well, you pulled it up. We have another question here. Vincent Eternal says, what is your favorite and least favorite ending in the whole of Megaten? And I think it's interesting because, like, I'm going to be real. There are very few SMT games where I end them and I go, nailed it. You nailed it, guys.
Yeah.
I have no feedback for this. You've killed it. So, like, I'm waiting for the day where Atlus makes an ending where I have no complaints with it, because I feel like most times when the SMT game ends, that's when I start writing the list of complaints. I'm like, could have done that, should have done that, would have liked to see more of that.
The game I was gonna say was I'm playing Disgaea. That's kind of cool.
Oh, Disgaea over here, eh? Yeah, that's a great series.
Yeah, but as for endings, I mean, I got like boring answers, like the ending to Last Bible Special like sucks and it's stupid, but that's like not a good answer. I don't like SMT4's neutral ending that much. It's kind of boring. That's a good one.
Is it a hot take to say I actively despise, and Nocturne HD taught me this, because I 100%ing saw every ending. I hate every ending in Nocturne. I think almost every ending in Nocturne is the world's either longest or worst cock tease. None of them feel satisfying.
They're kind of boring. I think Freedom's sort of cool, but it's not like my favorite. Nocturne's not my favorite to begin with, but yeah.
That's a 5. You're giving Nocturne a 5.
I don't know. Maybe a 5. I don't know. That's a hot take. We can't get into that.
Best one's tough. I think a lot of my best ones actually go to the weird ones, like the spin-offs. Like, I don't think there's any of the main lines I would say is like the best.
Yeah.
Oh, you know what? Fuck it, because it counts. Legitimately, unironically, the only SMT game like I've ever beaten, and I didn't have any problem with the ending to Tokyo Mirage Sessions fucks. There was no complaint
Really?
I had. The entire ending is immaculate. It is a perfect ending for a dumb RPG.
Guess I better play it. Yeah. It sounds cool. A good ending.
There's a musical number at the end. How could it go wrong?
Oh, okay.
They sing.
Yeah, I gotta see it. That sounds funny.
Sweet Roll Stealer says, asks Marsh what he would do to get a remake of if. Sorry, I'm thinking of like adjectives. So I was thinking like, is this like a number, like a Roman numeral IF? Like what? Oh, it's just if.
Right.
So number one, would you want if to be remade in 3D?
What do you mean by 3D? Like third person?
Yeah, like so, like we're getting SMT5 budget for if. I'm almost like I don't think that game would work well. Like I think they'd have to make a new game at that point.
I think it's a dungeon crawler, and that's what it should be. Is a dungeon crawler to me. I mean, like, yeah, I don't think it would do very well as like a fully fledged AAA game. I think part of the charm is that it's like low budget and it's a dungeon crawler, and that's just about it. It's simple, so that's what I think.
Speaking of simple, do you have any opinions on Demi-Kids?
Demi-Kids is one I haven't delved into yet, aside from just a little bit of messing around with like light and dark version. They seem okay. They seem pretty solid. I think it looks better than Last Bible does. So.
Yeah, I'll tell you that. As someone who's played all of those games, like, if you hold them up to the standard of the whole series, they're bad. If you're coming from, this is from Last Bible, you know, well, it's better than Last Bible, at least.
It looks better than that. It looks more sort of creative or, like, interesting.
There's never been someone in the community that's like, dude, have you played Demi-Kids? They're like, no. You're like, oh my god, I can't believe you ever played Demi-Kids. You've got to play Demi-Kids.
They're just, like, they just seem sort of, like, I don't know, like Digimon-like, which is fine. So, but it's better than Last Bible to me, which Last Bible is just very sort of painfully generic for the most part.
When is Marsh gonna play Digimon Cyber Sleuth? That's the real question.
People talk about that in my comments all the time, like, oh, this game reminds me of Digimon Cyber Sleuth. I haven't played it. I should probably check it out.
That's another game that goes very high up on the fucks hard list. Way harder than it should.
Yeah.
It's very good.
Well, it looks cool. I mean, people say, oh, this Soul Hackers reminds me of it. Other games remind me of it. So, yeah. If I like those, I'm sure I'll like it.
JNC Gaming said, I'm going to phrase this one a little bit. How would you feel if the Akechi spin-off rumor was true?
I don't... Does the rumor like a specific type of game? Or
it's the weak, dude. It's the weakest. Like, I don't even like calling it. It's like the next game is an Akechi game. Like that's all it is. Like
if they said like what kind of game it was, if it was like some like Ace Attorney shit, like I don't know, maybe it'd be cool. Like you're trying to like get evidence.
What if it's like a mixture of Hitman and Ace Attorney, where you have to defend yourself against people you killed? But you have to prove it that it wasn't you. Like, I killed that guy.
That'd be kind of sick. But if it was just like an adventure, like P5 with less of a, I don't know, probably not that cool.
Oh my gosh. My thoughts, I don't expect it to be the next game, but I would like him to be in one more game. I think there's still a storyline to finish with him that they set up, and I think it's happening. I just don't think it's the next game that's coming out.
Yeah.
Maggie Domon says, have you ever tried veteran mode in Digital Devil Story 1?
I did. Yeah, I played it on stream even. It's pretty hard to start off with because you don't have the shops or anything until the lower floors, but I mean after you get after that initial hump, it's not too bad. Kind of the same game.
It's what my experience with like a lot of the harder modes for those were like they never felt like they were designed to be that, like they felt like they were designed to be hard at first and they never kept that like steep. It was kind of like once you get over that hump, it's just kind of like, okay, now I'm just back to playing like I normally do.
It's the same kind of thing. Yeah. So I've tried it. I've never seen like a full Let's Play of it. I haven't beaten it on Veteran, so I don't think there's any extra like content. I would imagine somebody would have found that by now.
Mm-hmm.
But that's about all I would be interested in. Is like, does anything change? Like, do the cutscenes differ at all? Maybe. I don't know.
That's too much work, dude.
That's a lot of work. Yeah.
Miho Loves Robin says, can we ever get any talk about Gaiten Megami Tensei? I mean, you already did 9, so now people had to think of another niche game that people can't play and don't have a way to play for the most part. So, are you interested in it? I'll say this, as opposed to Demi Kids, I do recommend Gaiten, but Gaiten's definitely in that it's fine category, where, like, I give 9 a push because that's weird. That's a weird game. Whereas, like, Gaiten, you know what you're getting into. Like, my big thing with it is, like, it looks good, I like the art, I like the music, the story's interesting, but it is definitely one of those.
It's I've played some of it. I like announced I'm doing a video on it a long time ago, and then I had it set up so that it would like translate the game in real time, and it stopped working. Couldn't figure out how to fix it, so I kind of just like put it on the back burner for a little bit. But I played some of it, and I do intend on doing a video of it. I think it's pretty interesting. It has like real time dungeons where you can see the enemies and fight them in real time, sort of to some extent. It's pretty cool. So yeah, I will be talking about it.
Mm-hmm. Now, both of us are we're committed. We're committed men over here. We did get by Grand Tobacco gave us a Smash or Pass question. I didn't feel like it was respectful to just do Smash or Pass Nakajima, so I thought, respectably, we should smash or pass all mainline protagonists to be equally fair, to not be me.
Okay.
So
yeah,
we'll go DDS 1 Smash or Pass.
Nakajima, I mean, he's 17, so I can't really answer that question.
That's a pass, but a yes after you wait a year.
At the end of the entire 9 trilogy or whatever, not trilogy, whatever the word for 9 books is, yeah, sure.
You've waited long enough. The statute of limitation we'll forgive you. SMT 1 Smash or Pass.
You missed Megami Tensei 2.
Well,
how about that guy?
Listen, I have a bladder. I have a bladder the size of we're gonna go Megami Tensei 1. Megami Tensei 1, SMT 1, 2, 3, Sorry Strange Journey 4, and then of course Pass at 5.
I feel you. For 1, he's kind of just like a normal guy with like some janky looking shit on. I'll say pass.
That's a pass because I feel like you're asking me to bang myself. I feel like it's a generic white guy with brown hair. I'm like, no, thank you. SMT 2.
He's like technically a baby, but I guess he looks like pretty metal as fuck. So yeah, sure, he's cool.
I'll say pass just because I feel like he would smash me, and I don't think I'm comfortable with that yet, of like that post-apocalyptic future smashing.
Yeah, I feel you.
SMT3.
Nah, not pass. Demi-Fiend looks kind of stupid.
Put on a fucking shirt, dude. You think you're ripped enough for that? No thanks, dude. SMT4.
I think Flynn looks cool, but only in anime. I think if he was real, his hair would look kind of ridiculous. So I would say pass, probably.
Flynn pass, and I'm gonna cheat, even though I said I shouldn't include more. But he's really young. Fuck. Never mind. I won't incriminate myself by saying the other one I was gonna say Smash for then. And then Nahabino.
Nahabino is probably the most in my opinion, most attractive protagonist.
Nahabino is the only protagonist from the series I've ever been offended if I'm told by someone they don't like their design. If you tell me you don't like cool. Nahabino, I'm like, I'm not happy with what I just heard.
Yeah, he looks pretty cool. And Flynn is from Mikado, so he probably doesn't shower, so.
Oh, that's true. Got the stank, that Mikado stank.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's see here. Bismarck says, favorite fighting game?
Ultimax. Not a fighting game kind of guy, so it's definitely Ultimax.
It was either going to be that or that really bad PS1 Star Wars game, Masters of Terras Kasi or whatever.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's a toss-up.
Trash Heater 87 says, will you say Raito Kuzunoha?
You just said it. Raito Kuzunoha.
You have to say it. I can't say it.
Yeah. Raito Kuzunoha. There you go. It's twice.
So we're just going to clip that out and just say, get your videos together of, I give Raito Kuzunoha a 6 out of 10.
Yeah, you can make your own review.
That should be like a really sad like Twitter account someone makes of just like splicing Marsh video clips together for incriminating evidence.
Oh, don't give people ideas, my god. I've said some shit that just sounds straight up ridiculous. You can make some crazy
They're just
sentences.
like, I've got the whole archive. Or, no, they have a bounty for all of your old unlisted videos. They're like, I need more of you.
Right.
Oh my god, I think we're finally done. We have like 2 left. Spider says, favorite book.
Favorite, like any book?
Any book. You can give any book.
I don't know if it's a book, but I really like Dante's Inferno. I love that shit. That's cool.
Why do you have to start conversations that could lead you longer? Because now I just want to talk to you about the PlayStation 3 game, Dante's Inferno.
I gotta play that.
You like Dante's Inferno and have not played that? That game is great.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I gotta play that.
Fucking over here replaying Fear for the 5th time. Can't even play Dante's Inferno.
It looks sick. It really looks cool. So I do want to play that one.
From the fucking makers of Dead Space. What a weird time to be alive that was, by the way.
Yeah.
All right, Marsh. Well, we are borderline almost to 2 hours, which I said I would not do. So, Marsh, where can people find you? And also, sorry for taking you this long.
It's totally fine. Yeah, I think my Twitter link's in the description and but it's at Marsh SMT on Twitter. And then if you just go on YouTube and type in Marsh SMT, you'll find it pretty much instantly. So yeah, YouTube and Twitter is my main 2 things. I don't have anything else yet, but I'm considering maybe branching out in the future. Yeah.
Well, Marsh, I appreciate you for being here. Everybody, thank you for listening to this live. I will put the audio edited version of this up later. But a man has got to eat. A man has also got to go to the bathroom. And what is a man if he doesn't play Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga on launch day? I mean, let's be honest.
Exactly.
So I do at least want to give a shout out to all of the SMT and Patreon people. So shout out to anyone who donates to that. Helps keep the show running, of course, obviously. But also shout out to all of the executive producers from the $5 and up tier who get a shout out. So thank you, Jeg Genghis. Thank you, Cross Ren Ren, Sarah Gura, Jazzy Jefferson, K Horse, Kashika, Patrick Dissard, Philip Myers, Shisho, Solaire, and Cameron Sharp. That is our executive producers. Thank you all so much. Normal stuff and where to find us, that's in the description below. We really got to get out of here. But instead of being weird and saying a normal goodbye, Marsh, we could end the show by doing, if we were Lego formed, what would Lego Marsh and Lego Spencer, what would our death noise be? That should be our goodbye.
The death noise, the noise that like Daisojo makes when he screeches.
I'm not saying you. No, I'm saying you have to recreate it. You need to make the Marsh death noise.
I have to make the noise.
Yes, we're gonna do 3, 2, 1, and our last thing anyone's gonna hear is the Lego Marsh death noise.
I have no idea how to make that noise. I don't have that range.
We're expanding you as an actor today.
Like I literally can't even do that shit. If I screamed like that, it would like rip my vocal cords out.
You know what my Lego death noise would be that I can't actually do? I'd be that lady who gets literally torn in half at the beginning of Apocalypse. Like, I always think of that lady who gets her guts just ripped in two.
That's crazy. That's a deep cut reference. I forgot about that.
Oh my god. Alright, well goodbye everybody. Enjoy playing Lego or thanks for listening to the show. We'll talk to you later.
Bye guys.
Well, that went horrifyingly way